It's a Simpsons reference. I always use that one. People always question me on it.
I'm like, what's he talking about?
That's Seymour Skinner. He says that sounds like rock and or roll. I always use that one.
Oh, here we go. Hold on. Feedback loop already. Lovely. Lovely. Ta-da! Hey! Now they can see us.
Are we on?
We're on. It's alive.
Shit.
Away.
Oh, I've demonetized us already. My first word is fuck. Shit.
Game over. Game over. Just the end of it. The end of it, I tell you. Well, it's live. I see Dread was here.
Hey guys.
We've made balls of it already. So what's the crack? Yeah, another first ever Two Balls Not episode that's live. So it's me, Skarnir, how he is, and himself.
Hey guys, it's 6 Plus Stevo here, and I have been blessed by Papa Nurgle again. By Papa Nurgle, I mean my 3-year-old daughter has given me her cold, and yeah, she's a right little nurgling. She's always brings back diseases from play school and lovingly gifts them to me. So I'm feeling rough as Ghazghkull's arsehole when Makari crawled back out of there.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I was saying you, mate. Sorry about that. Him and the banner pole. The whole just.
Hey, how's that for a segue?
Oh my god. Yeah.
I've always said you're the king of segues. That was
I've been letting the side down on the segues now. You know what I mean? Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. No. So what have we been up to since the last one? And how long has it been since the last Two Bald Nobz episode?
Whoa, a long time.
It's been a good few months.
People have been asking us for a long time. Although we haven't done a Bald Nobz podcast for a long time, but I have appeared on your.
Oh yeah, on the hobby hangouts I do. Yeah.
Now, and I was 2 times at least, I think. And and essentially it's a very similar thing, really, isn't it? So
similar kind of format.
Yeah, it's I guess this. I'm laughing even before I say it. I guess this is a little bit more structured. The loosest possible.
Famous last words. I love it. We have some subject matter to talk about. That's about it.
Yeah. We generally, the only difference is we go, right, we're going to have a topic and we're going to talk about this. And then generally we talk about it for 10 minutes and then waffle on about whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, that's usually the way. But it's usually the way of how we do it. Who have we got anyway? Since it's a live stream, it's kind of weird, isn't it? We have interactions with
It's good.
With the fans of Two Bald Nobz. If they still remember us. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, that show that those two guys did. But yeah, I think it's not a case of not wanting to do Two Bald Nobz show. It's just the planets just didn't align for me and you. Anytime you'd be free, I wouldn't be. Anytime I'm free, you're busy with. You know, I think it was a case of that. You know
definitely.
what I mean?
There's definitely been a case of that. Also, there's been a case of there hasn't been. We've generally discussed sort of the orc related news items, haven't we? Mostly we do have covered like non-orc stuff a bit as well, and on that front there hasn't been a lot happening up until recently, so there hasn't really been call for us to do a show talking about a certain release or a subject or something, is there? So that's why I've preferred to just come on your show and just do some laid back hobby chat, and then it's just more of a hobby and chill in it and talk about projects we're up to and stuff. But we've certainly got some news to talk about this time.
Oh yeah, for once, definitely for once. But I suppose that's the blessing and the burden of having it like Orky centric.
Yeah,
it's like if there's nothing going on, it's a bit of a ghost town. But
definitely, yeah.
When something does happen, it's like, oh, hello, we're still alive. Yeah. We're still here and kicking.
But what have we been up to? Well, what I'm up to currently at this moment, in a moment, is I'm going to be carrying on painting this dude. So I'll hold him up to the camera. Hang on a minute. Let me get some back in here. Let me try and get him focused good. I don't have desk cam yet.
It's all right. We'll go up to...
there you go.
There you go. He's out of focus, but hold him back a bit. Back it up. Beep, beep, beep. No, still out of focus. Fucker. It's
The
an old
mouse
war
mat's not
boss.
big enough colour. But
We
yeah, he's a combination of 2 old metal war bosses and a little banner pole from the Nobz kit with the squig on top. That's
oh yeah,
his
see,
attack
yeah.
squig. But yeah, he's one of the first miniatures of this army I started painting about 2 or 3 years ago. And just kind of got to a certain point, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like where it's going. I haven't done it good enough." But since I've got my scheme down and that now, and I've been painting grots and cans and mech guns and stuff, I was like, "Right, I need to get back on with him and fix up his paintwork and sort of start again, basically." So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment, and I did it over a grey base coat, which I never do, and I'm never doing ever again because I just can't get used to not doing over a black base coat. It's just the way I've always known, and I just can't get used to it. I don't like.
It's a bit of an odd one, yeah. I think that the bonus, like, there's pros and cons to doing over a black base coat.
Yeah,
Like the pros being if you miss getting into the recesses of something, at least there's going to be black in that recess. Whereas if you miss it when it's grey or white, it'll pop out more. You'll notice it
yeah,
with your eye. Do you know what I mean?
definitely. And I paint very much dark building up to light.
Yeah.
My final colors I'm putting on are the edge highlighting and and that's how I work. And I know a lot of people work the other way around. They start with like a white or zenithal and they shade it downwards. And so, yeah, it's just different ways. But yeah, he's coming along anyway. He's getting there. Yeah, so he's my reward for having painted a unit of grots.
Oh, I saw that. Your 10 grots, they were looking nice.
Yeah, they were a chore. I'm pleased with them, and it was quite fun. But painting characters, that's where I find it fun because you're doing a bit of this color, then a little bit of this color, and you're painting this bit, and so it keeps you interested and motivated. Whereas painting units, it's very much production line, right? Paint green 10 times, paint yellow 10 times,
Yeah.
and it gets a bit of a slog. But after him, I'm doing 15 tank busters in one hit, so I'm not looking forward to that, but I really want to get them done, so they're sitting there looking at me waiting for this guy to get done. So
you could break them down into units of 5 if you want. It's funny that you're saying like talking about rewards because I've been painting BattleTech stuff. I know this is an Orky thing, but I might as well throw it in what's got me motivated. So I've been painting BattleTech stuff, which is something totally different to the painting orcs, and I found that it's spurred me on to be motivated to paint some Orky stuff. So this is how I've started painting.
because you're keeping the variety in your painting.
Yeah, the 10 boys, like you were talking about using
very
characters.
clean sort of armor and stuff, isn't it? It's very different. So
It's very different. Different techniques I'm using. Like I'm painting trying to do blends to get the lenses painted correctly and stuff like that. So it's something different, and a different palette and color scheme, I think, as well, which sort of mixes it up a bit. But that's got me, painting a unit of 10 boys. I started these on Sunday. Man, I've put like 7 hours into these already, and they're like halfway painted. It's mad. And I'm not being like super tidy with them neither. I'm just like, these are bog standard troops. Just sort of get the paint on them and get them going. So yeah, that's what I'm working on tonight. I'm going to be painting up Ken Slug of Chopper Boys. Hopefully the Gits what is watching and typing away in the chats is also getting some of that Grey Tide Torn Grain. We have a load of folk showing up. That's the cracky Gits. Who's painting what? Anything in particular? Any nice projects?
I should say, guys, that I can't see what you're chatting about because I can't see the chat. So I'll be relying on Skarnir to read out any comments and questions and interactions you guys have. So don't think I'm ignoring you or anything if I don't respond to anything because I'm not seeing it.
That's true. If you're trying to throw something specifically at us, do an @PlasticCrack Gaming, which is the name of my channel, but you can still call me Skarnir. I rebranded, which is another change, I think, since the last 2 bald knobs. I decided to branch out a bit. But, yeah, well, we're doing well. We're getting hobby done. We're still alive, That's all that matters. For now, says you.
Just about, yeah, just
For
about.
So, yes, super segues, I think. Super segues for the win in regards to Macari. I did not see that awkwardly. All right, if you've been living under a rock, Right, give me a second. I'll see if I can get this technical shenanigans to work. But if you've been living under a rock and you haven't seen, we're gonna play the trailer now for you. This is the trailer from the Warhammer community site. They've put up a trailer, a little sneak peek of what's to come for us. You know, if I press this button and go, huzzah!
It's time, boys!
Yeah, look at the claw on that. Whoa. You know, how mad is that? Like, I did not see that coming at all.
No, I don't think any of us did we? I know GW over the recent years they've been quite fond of going into their back catalogue, especially in their specialist games. Like we've just seen the Zote return in their what's it called, Blackstone Fortress and stuff, and they've brought other things back like the ambots and things and all sorts of stuff as the squat thing and
the amble. Yeah, I think we haven't seen like the amble since Rogue Trader, man.
I just never even considered that they would bring Makari back. I thought he was dead and gone forever.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's just a beautiful little bonus. It's really good, and he looks good as well. He looks really cool. I love the helmet he's got with the 3 horns on it and stuff. Someone joked in the comments on the 40k community the other day saying the subject of him being sat on and killed and stuff, and they said, well, of course he wasn't sat on. Have you seen that hat?
You'd know about Mega Armor. No, you'd know about it. You would.
Yeah, that's enough to make even Ghazghkull wince, definitely. But yeah, it's awesome news. It really is. It's a quality little bonus. It really is. And although it's only a sneak, not a sneak preview, but you don't get to see him fully. Although you see most of him, they've revealed quite a lot of him, and I think even at this stage of what we've seen, I think he looks good. Looks like they've done a really good job updating him.
It's true, yeah. From what we've seen, like, there's a couple of things we don't know at the moment, and it's like they've been very crafty in how they've shown him off. We don't know exactly how big he is.
No.
And we've no idea of price point. I think we were spitballing ideas about how big he'd be. I was thinking maybe, maybe he might be the same size as like the Mega Armored War Boss, or maybe up to Gulliman's size, something like that, or Mega Armored War Boss. I mean, the Mega Boss from Age of Sigmar, like he's a bit bigger and chunky. They seem to be doing that with a lot of their resculpts, is upsizing
scaling them up,
scaling a lot of the stuff up. Like,
I'm thinking he's going to be somewhere between a Killer Khan and a Death Dread. I think he's going to be around on par with a Killer Khan, or a bit bigger than a Killer Khan. The only hint of scale I got was when you see his head in that really quick shot as it swings past. If you're quick enough to pause it just at the right time, you can see almost his whole face, and his head looks tiny in that armor. It's like a little pea head, and you can bet your ass they haven't scaled him down. So if his head is like, well, it's going to be at least the size of this war boss's head, probably a bit bigger, I would say, and I'm imagining that head in the armor, like, it gives you a bit of a sense of scale of how big the bulk of his actual body is.
All right, well, let me have a look and we'll bring it up. So if we do that one, so we're looking at. You're talking about when the headshot comes in and it's.
Yeah, the camera, right at the final reveal, the camera sort of pans across him really quick, and you got to like just literally pause it at that last second. I know some people have managed to do it and share the images online, and they've been shared around quite a bit there, where you can see his face. like a sort of a slightly blurred image of his face, because like I say, it pans across very quick.
Oh, there we go. Yep. There's his face. Right, so there's that image you were talking about there. His face is blurred. Look at the fucking size of that claw, man. So if his head, if his head is bigger than a Nobz head, which it's bound to be, because Warboss size, they tend to at least keep to that continuity in the scale of things.
Well, I've got this war boss here that I've got. His head is at least from chin to the top of his head is at least 1 centimeter, and that's just a standard war boss. Now, Gazzy's head's likely to be a little bit bigger than that, at least, or at least on par with it. And you look at how small his head looks
compared to that claw, man. Holy shit! Like, yeah. Or even
I think
in the middle,
big boy.
If you look at the skull in the middle, as a point of reference in the image, if we look at the skull dangling and it's a human skull, look at the size difference from that skull to Gazzy's his head. Like, maybe that's another clue of scale. Like, this claw is massive.
Yeah.
Like, this thing might be as big as the what's that fucking Defiler. I think that's literally like Defiler claw size.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's probably going to be bigger than a Death Dread claw. Like,
yeah, I would say a lot chunkier. That's what I really like about it.
It's got like a triple like spikes on it, rather than like usually have a double or a single, don't they?
Yeah, it looks like he has like the thumb, the 3 claws, and then there's other spiky bits in here.
Yeah,
if he gets a grab on you. It's massive. Like, that claw is absolutely massive.
And it looks good, actually. I know there was a lot of talk of Prime Ghazghkull and that, and love or hate that idea. There was a lot to talk about, but I must admit, actually, looking at this, I don't think they've gone down that route as some of the community want them to, and some really don't. I kind of like that he's going to be a big hench war boss, but he's not stupidly scaled. He's still in sort of keeping with the sort of the lore and the theme of orcs, but they've bulked out his armor big time to really the odds where some of the people that he could potentially be facing, to make it so it's believable that actually Gazzy poses a significant threat to Gilliman or whoever he's going to be facing on the battlefield. So yes, I think good decision on GW's part, if that is the case, what it looks like.
He did, like, there seems to be a lot of weight to it. Like, even look at the gauntlet, the thickness of the armor going around.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like, you know, if he ran into you, let alone hit you, you know, we'd wreck you. So I'll give them that much. At least they've got the weight of him, like the gravitas of the miniature, looking swank. Look at the size of the horn sticking out there. Jesus.
He's probably going to be on a Death Dread size base, isn't he? I would think.
Well, this is the thing. We don't quite know. So maybe he's on a Death Dread base. If we got a good look at the base, we'd know. I think we'd be able to place him down. But there's some camera trickery going on here. So we're saying he's going to be big, but he's not going to be, absolutely massive as well. But I think, looking at the human skull in the middle of the frame as a point of reference, and then his head, that'll give you an idea. Like, his head looks lost compared to the
it does.
The rest of the claw.
Like a pea head in this like massive, ridiculous suit of armor that is ridiculous in all the right ways.
Yeah.
In very orky ways. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. I mean, the only thing that could make this better for me is if he comes with options of being made as either Ghazghkull or a regular mega armored war boss. That's the only thing that could up this release for me, and to be like, oh my god. I mean, if that's the case, I will buy multiples of this, because I would make one as Gaz and then make one as a war boss, and you'd probably end up buying a few, because there'd be such good basis for conversions and stuff. And obviously we don't know what the kit's going to be like yet, whether it's going to be mono pose, that dirty word, or whether it's going to be sort of have some options or at least posability to it and things. We don't know any of that yet. So there's loads to sort of. There's still a lot more to reveal on this, but this initial reveal has got me feckin' excited.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm seeing the hype train go past, and Steve-O's waving as he races on by. But I'm like, I'm just like, oh, all right, yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
Oh, it's well overdue. I'll agree with you on that one. Like, when we're looking at the model, what they've shown us, the only glue seam that I can really see is up in his arm up here. Like, I can't really see, like, we can't really see an awful lot. There's a bit on his gauntlet as well. I think if we go back, you can see some glue seams here from his gauntlet. So maybe...
The trouble is, they're so damn good at building and painting their stuff. Like, it's really hard to spot bits like that with theirs, isn't it?
Yeah, like you're literally having to slow it down. I do like the paint effect they've done here with the OSL. That's really nice. Pretty swanky paint job. But yeah,
there's a piece of artwork of Gaz that's really famous and is used all the time on thumbnails for videos and in pictures and stuff. And it's just the one of him sort of strolling towards the sort of the camera. And he's looking just ridiculously hench and menacing and terrifying. And I'm sure a lot of people know the one that I'm talking about. It's all in color, and it's just like a piece of art that's used all the time when talking about Gaz and when showing Gaz. And this miniature, to me, when I look at it, I'm like, they have taken that image of him and just made it into the miniature representation of that. And just, like I said, just from what I can see of it, which is quite a lot, they've done a fine-ass job on it. They really have.
Yeah, sort of like unstoppable juggernaut. And here's that backpack that we saw in the Warhammer community sneak peek a while back. Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw the image of that, I thought it was too clean. You know, the one with the crank handle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is his backpack. And people are like, oh, yeah. Well, I honestly thought this was too clean. Starting off with to be Orky, because you don't see any Orky teeth. You don't see, like, I think the bit they showed you was here, and maybe the only bit that sort of gave it away for me was that. But I honestly, when I saw this, I thought it was super clean, and I was like, it's a bit clean for orcs. But no, it's in the context of the rest of the miniature.
Yeah, because there was a lot of talk about it being sort of like the dwarf, the flying dwarf lots from Age of Sigmar and stuff, weren't there? And things, there was all sorts of things people were saying it could be. But yeah, it's good to see that it was Gazzy. And it looks like he's had a gun upgrade, didn't it? Because you see the sort of energy cell power core battery, whatever the hell it is, that you always see on the custom Mega Blasters, the sort of brass
the one on his backpack
thing. Yeah, and it looks like there's a little shot of it somewhere. I don't think it exactly shows where it is, but it looks like
his backpack. Yeah, there's
he's always carried a twin big shooter, hasn't he?
Yeah, twin big shooter. But I think that's, if we look at the image of the gun, but we're looking at there's like a bit off of a custom Mega Blaster. If you look at the mechs have, that's that bottom piece you were on the back.
Yeah,
in his backpack. And if we look at the image where it's showing a little bit of his gun, and it's totally out of focus, but it's a lot chunkier. It doesn't look. And it might be. I don't know. He's
been customizing. I think he's been customizing and adding some upgrades and attachments to his weapon. It looks like, it looks like his gun may pack a little bit more of a punch.
I should bleeding hope so.
Yeah, although he's never really been about the shooting, has he? But
no. You get him stuck in, you get him crumping. That's it.
It is nice that he's certainly. So we kind of know as well from that, or we can at least speculate from that he's not coming to us with the same rules and data sheet. It's highly likely that he's going to come with a whole new data sheet, and he's going to, I think, have some significant upgrades in melee and shooting potential, and hopefully some aura abilities and things, and really make him a very powerful centerpiece HQ for your army. I'd be very surprised if they're just like, he's just a new miniature and it's the same rules. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. I'm going to conserve my enthusiasm until we actually get the releases. I don't blame people. I'm all happy for people to get super excited, but I'm like, if I'm a bit less like hyped about it, I can't really be disappointed. Then you know what I mean. But
Well, see, that's because you've learnt from October. I haven't.
yeah, clearly one of us.
I haven't. I never learn.
We'd never learn. I love it. All right, so we'll bounce back to getting our boys painted, getting our stuff painted. But it's super cool. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm like, it's about Zog and time is what I was thinking straight away.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's like Gazzy's been due an overhaul a long time now.
Ghazghkull, the miniature we've got now,
Oh,
he was released in 3rd edition.
It would have been 3rd edition.
So we're looking at like what, 99 or something like that.
98 or 99. I'd have to go rummaging for books, which I'm not really arsed doing about now.
He's when I've had I've had this discussion on like forums and in our community with people and that, and you always get it. You always get a few people coming going, actually, I really like the Gaz miniature. I don't see what the problem is. And I'm like, no, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with the miniature. He's a miniature that has stood the test of time really well. But over the this edition particularly, where we've had the serious scale creep with Primaris and everything being sort of upscaled and thing, he's started to show his age in terms of scale, certainly. And then as well, like if you want to buy one new now, he's in bloody fine cast, isn't he? I mean, but there are loads of metal ones available on eBay and places.
Yeah, because everyone, their cousin bought it because it was the only mega armored war boss.
Virtually,
you know what I mean?
How many times have you seen it as the basis for a mega armored war boss? You know, because GW have made one, so he was always the basis of a mega armored war boss more often than not. So he's. But it's time for that miniature to hang his boots up and retire, and chill out and stand aside for this awesome looking plastic kit, multi-part. Please, GW, please.
You know what I mean? If we had rules for mega armored war boss and the codex, you could just convert your old ones to just being standard ones. But we won't go there.
That's a good point. Yeah. So that's a good point actually. Those old Gazzies will still have a use. They will still have a use.
If they do bring the mega boss back.
Someone was only chatting with me today saying that they've got a couple and they said suddenly they don't think they're going to get much for them on eBay, but actually they probably still will because there's probably still a demand for that miniature. But yeah, perhaps you could use all those old Ghazghkull miniatures to convert a mob of Gazzy's bully boys.
Yeah, super big bully boys.
Yeah.
What are people saying in the chat? Let's have a look. There's been a lot of chatter going on. Apologies if we've missed it. We've been a bit hyped. People are talking about he should be the size of a Primarch. Other people are saying I'm picturing the beast with a tiny pinhead, and I love it.
You did say pinhead then, didn't you?
Yeah, with a tiny pinhead. Yeah. It's like do you ever see the sort of stereotypical like roid rager bodybuilders where they're these massive guys and a little tiny head? People saying posing makes a huge difference. The claw's insane. Absolutely love it. The claw makes me tear up. So beautiful. It is. It's a really nice claw. I have to say that. Even Dreadwa popped in. I used to get excited about these releases, but I'm less optimistic since the buggies. GW don't really have a grip on orcs or flair with them anymore. I can understand that point of view.
I can understand exactly what you're saying there, Dread, with those buggies and that, but that doesn't relate to this miniature though.
Now,
you look at this. This isn't the GW that have like lost what orcs are about and the travesty that was that orc.
We'll see. Time will tell.
I know. There's still more to reveal, and they could in some way ruin it, but what we've seen so far, this just based this on its own, regardless of prior faults, this just looks damn good. Regardless of your opinion on past releases and the way they've treated orcs, but just as a miniature, he looks.
So even if the rules were absolutely shockingly terrible or they didn't
I
get
wouldn't
changed,
care.
you'd
I
still
wouldn't
get
care.
it.
I'd still get it because he's just
Yeah.
a stunning miniature. Yeah, that's more important to me than if his rules are. I will still be pissed if his rules are shit. I will still be devastated and think, that will. Then I'm sure the community will. But it is for any miniature. It's always more important to me that the rules are good. I've got the. You know how much I love the Ghazghkull miniatures, and I got that at the tail end of 7th when they were fucking terrible.
Oh mate, don't get me started about
I
Gorkanots
still
and
used
Walkanauts
it.
in
I still
7th.
used it in every
Yeah.
game and played with it because I just love the miniature and I just had to have it. And it was like, yeah. So, but I don't think his rules are going to be crap. Whether they're going to be Space Marine levels of good, I highly doubt. But I think they will be good.
The poster boys, no, we can't be beating the poster boys. God forbid that'd happen. So what do you reckon? Are we going to see like more stuff coming out then? Are we going to be getting a new codex already? Like I don't.
Yes to the first part, no to the second part. I think we are due more because I would find it strange that GW blew their load so quick with this, and then nearer the time that's when they're gonna announce stuff and have the big reveal. This is the book. This is this new stuff that's coming with the book. They generally do that, don't they? And I'd find it strange if they showed off that early and then left themselves nothing to show off nearer the time. So I still think we're getting that set of Space Wolves versus Orcs that's rumored.
Another kind of like Stormclaw set would be. Yeah, that was a good solid set. That was nice.
I don't think Gaz is going to be in that set because I think they would just. Gaz is a chance for GW to print money. So they would be stupid to do that. It would be amazing if they did. It would be really good, but I don't think they will. I think in that set, though, you are going to get at least one new character or unit. I think.
It's like, what are we seeing so far? I can pull up the image that we've seen from their rumor mill. We have the image of the boot that they've put up. Now it's clearly very orky because it's got like the little orky teeth on it.
I've had so many people tell me it's not orky, it's an ogre.
Nah, no way, man. Those
I can see what they're saying, but it's not.
Those teeth on the boot, I don't think that's aesthetically, that's a very solid sort of orky look, and it's reminiscent to some of the older miniatures that we have. There's if you post it up, there's the Games Day Nob, which is another guy who has a similar sort of pose up, throw him up there, and he's
classic, awesome looking mini.
Classic, awesome, and it's like if you look at the boot on the ammo crate, it's pretty much nearly exactly the same. So we might see a revamp of the Games Day Nob. You know what I mean? Like the front of the boot's a little bit different, but it's like he's got his 4-line boot on top of an ammo crate, and it's pretty much, if we go back to the one that they've rumored, if it works, it's pretty much the exact same thing. 4-line boot. All right, the toe cap's a little bit different, but it's still the same sort of pose. So either we'll see, I don't think it'll be a direct copy of it, but like a revamp probably.
Do you know what, mate? You're the first person I've had say that, and I think you're really onto something there, actually. I've had loads of other suggestions. People saying it could be a big mech. People saying it could be a Deathcopter pilot, and that part of what it stands on is part of a Deathcopter or something, which again makes sense to me with the fur and stuff, because I know that all the flyboys and stuff, like their fur jackets and stuff, looking very kind of World War II sort of esque. What was the other thing? There was another suggestion. Someone said, someone saying it could be a new Bad Ruck. And it could be like could be on top of like his chest full of teeth or something. I don't think that is the case, though, personally.
Yeah, I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think so either.
No,
myself.
I think you're onto something there, mate. And actually, of all those suggestions, I would probably put my money on that, actually, because that Games Day miniature is very significant in the whole kind of look and feel of the orcs we know today, isn't he? He's very one of the was, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to go memories now. Was he not the first sort of one in that new design? Or
No,
very early on in that period?
who was it who sculpted them? I forget. It wasn't Adrian Wood. It was there was a sculptor whose name I should know, and it's in there. It just won't come out. But I'm sure someone in chat will throw it up.
Dread will know.
Dread will probably know. But the new aesthetic that we were used to, well, by new aesthetic I mean like the aesthetic that we're used to for the orcs. This sort of the one that the boys kid is based off of. The first one of those was the Warhammer Fantasy Shaman. Do you know the one with the bone? The big, big toy bone for a club. He was the first one to get that sort of the face that we're used to.
What was the first 40k one?
Barry Scott. Let's see what Hans Gruber's saying is Barry Scott. I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe the Games Day Knob was.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
I wouldn't be brave enough to say he's the first 40k.
I remember Dread doing a video about it. So I know he'll know. But yeah, he's certainly a. Whether I've just spoken a load of bollocks or not, or whether I've got lucky with the truth there, he's definitely a classic miniature that is well loved, and you'd be pleased to have that in your army today. He's really cool looking mini. He's classic. And so yeah, I don't know. I kind of hope you're right on that. That'd be quite cool to.
That would be cool, but then are we getting? Is it like a limited run mini, or you know what I mean? There's a lot. Showing images like that brings up a lot more questions than it answers. But I think in regards to what we've seen before, I can understand why people would say Commando as well, because the Commando knob has his foot up on I think it's on a piece of rock. I'm not too sure if it's an ammo crate.
Or even Storm Boys. I've had people say Storm Boys as well, which makes.
I don't think it's Storm Boys, because the aesthetic that they went for Storm Boys, they have them sort of leaping off of broken pieces of terrain, and their boots are very sort of
more like claws, aren't they?
Yeah, jagged. They have bits sticking down out of them so that they land on people. And that's why I didn't think it would be Zagstructor, because he has like power claw legs pretty much that are the Vulture's claws. So yeah, my 2 cents is on a revamp of the Games Day knob or something similar. Sure, they've done a revamp of the Red Gobbo as well. You know what I mean? That's happened since the last 2 bald knobs as well.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, well, you don't want to talk about it? What? You traumatized?
It's just shit.
It's just shit.
This is on your last stream with Dim, and you know how much me and Dim disagree on
most things. Yeah.
On that, I'm with him 100%. Like, it's just crap. Who wants a fucking Christmas themed fucking rock?
You've seen it here first, folks. A 40k orc miniature Stevo did not like. My God. Where's the real Stevo? What have you done with him?
You can go back through my playlist and find me ranting about them bloody buggies. There's plenty of them, trust me.
Oh God.
But no, just a waste of time.
Wasn't your cup of tea, you know?
Overpriced, waste.
Yeah, man. It was, what was it, £20? I think it was €25 for him, and it was like a little sprue. It was just Mark Bedford did some.
If they had done him and like just special edition, free with any purchase for this day only, I'd have been like, all right, cool, little stupid Christmas grot freebie with your thing. That'd have been the way to do it. That's the way to do themed stupid miniatures as a free giveaway. Every purchase in store today gets a free stupid Christmas grot.
Free stupid. So
then I'd be like, oh, little freebie, nice.
Is that hitting in a sore point for you? Do you not like themed miniatures then?
No, I hate them.
There you go. See,
bollocks. I don't like them.
You don't like themed miniatures?
No, can't stand them. I don't want an Easter. I don't want an
Easter bunny squig,
Easter egg or something. I don't want a fucking Halloween fucking orc. Although I haven't said that, that'd be quite cool. But
hypocrite.
No, I don't get them. I don't get the. it's not going to fit in with the lore and theme of your army. So it's just, what's the point? And if you're painting it just to have it, like, you should be painting something. I don't know. It's just pointless. I'm not going to waste my time paint. It takes me ages to paint. Ages. I'm so slow, and I'm really trying hard to get my army painted. I'm not going to stop painting important stuff to paint fucking a candy cane on my grot.
So you're not a fan of themed miniatures. That's what it is. I don't know. I like them. I think they're interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You pull them out once a year or whatever. It's like the Halloween themed stuff or Santa
What are you
Claus.
going to do with it? Someone's going to go, look,
Make a custom scenario though. You know what I mean?
go, I don't care. Yeah, okay.
Make a custom scenario with your mates. Have a bit of a laugh, you know. Come up with a scenario. The Grots, I don't know, ruin Christmas or something like that. The Grots ruin Orkmas. Sit down with your mates and make a scenario and have a bit of a laugh of it.
Yeah,
You know?
I just don't think they have mass appeal. I think themed stuff is great. If someone wants to convert something themselves and make a funny thing, I don't know, they're okay. It just, if they hadn't charged 20 quid for it, I would have been more.
Yeah, it was. I'll agree with you there. It was way overpriced. It was absolutely way overpriced.
And you see what most people have done with them. Most people have got them and removed all the Christmas stuff and tried to make him look like a normal red gobbo.
Yeah, some people have done that. There's a couple of guys in the chat saying a lot of my mates don't play orcs, got the Xmas grot, and put them in a bauble. I was thinking of doing that, but I gave it to Dreadwell. That's exactly what I thought when I saw him. I was like, I'll probably never use this in my army, but I put him in a bauble and put him on the Christmas tree. It's like,
yeah, I must admit, it'd be cool. It's a cool little I guess a little thing to have on your desktop, isn't it? As a little, collectible type thing. But yeah, I don't know.
or you could have made a snow globe out of them, super glued them to something, and stick them in a jam jar upside down. just make sure you seal them.
Yeah, all right. You've sort of changed my mind slightly, but I still don't want one myself.
Big Mac Danskull said he wanted a Christmas themed grot. It's a nice change of pace. See, some people like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair play. I will get down from my soapbox and accept the fact that it's just my personal opinion on that. But
I had a feeling. I was like, he doesn't like the Christmas grot. It's like, why particularly? But I will say there are two things that I really didn't like. Number one was the price that we both agree on, and then number two was the rules that they brought out from. He's an elite's choice.
Also, sorry to interrupt, there's one more thing I want to throw in there as well. I also would have been more forgiving had we at that point had all the releases we had been asking for, and we had been well served in terms of orc releases. But the fact that we were getting bugger all, like 3 FA after an October in which we got mono build buggies, which everyone knows I'm not a fan of, to then get that. It felt like a real
slap in the face.
Oh, here you go, guys. We know we haven't given. Here's a release for you. Like, yeah, oh, great. He's holding a fucking candy cane, a twig with bauble. Like, jeez. Yeah, I think at that point, if we'd had loads of stuff, if we'd already had Gazzy and stuff by then, and if we'd had multi-part Deathcopters and all that kind of goodness, if we'd had that, and then they brought that out, I'd be like, oh yeah, cool. It's a little curiosity, cool little.
That's a nice little add-on. So like the frustrations of the lack of releases for the main line, sort of leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. Like, yeah, I can get that context as well. I can understand people's frustration with it.
The one I did like was the White Dwarf, the recent Mechanicus White Dwarf with the red gobbo lobotomized on him, which I know a lot of green skin players took offense to, but I kind of like that because I want that little miniature just to have.
The lobotomized, isn't it normally the black gobbo is the one he was usually with the white dwarf, isn't it?
Yes, I can always get the bloody yes. It is.
And the red gobbo is the one from Ghazghkull. There is a difference, folks. It's not like we don't know our lore over here. Dim Reap is saying.
I remember getting that confused on my video. I put all the wrong title on it and everything. And after I uploaded it, I was like, shit, I got it wrong. It's the fucking red gobbo, black gobbo. And even now, I can't even remember which it is now.
Black gobbo is the one who tends to take over the white dwarf.
Mm.
And I think they call them black gobbo because it's like the opposite of white dwarf would be a black gobbo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's Dame saying? Brian Nelson was the sculptor you're probably thinking of. That or Seb Perbet. I think Brian Nelson's the right guy. Ain't no Red Gobbo being done in by an orc. Viva la revolution. Garrick Field said I purchased the Red Gobbo and immediately regretted it. Yeah, buyer's remorse. I can understand buyer's remorse on that one. All right, it was way too overpriced, man. He should have been like 10-15 quid, like for one miniature.
Free with any purchase. That's what.
Yeah.
Free with any purchase.
You know, free with any purchase, but you know, free stuff from GW. Jesus. Think you're asking a bit much there. You know what I mean? It's a company that needs to be making a profit, Steve-O. They can't be giving stuff away for free, like, you know what I mean? Fuck's sakes. Jesus, like, you freeloading orcs. So you're saving your pennies up, you reckon? You think we're gonna be getting a big release, do you?
Yeah, look, I'd advise anyone out there who collects orcs and that at the moment to save your money for this Saga of the Beast release, because we may just get Ghazghkull at this point. We may just get Ghazi and the book, and that be it. We might not get any other miniatures than that. And the whole Space Wolves versus Orcs box set may turn out to be a false rumor.
Wasn't there supposed to be one with the Black Templars? That was a rumor a while back.
That was the initial rumor. Yes, that was the initial rumor, and then there was later rumors that were like, no, the original source was like wrong or something or whatever.
So it transpired to be rubbish then.
Yeah, but I'm hedging my bets on that there's some truth in this, and I think it will, but we might not. But look, at the end of the day, if you've got your money saved up and then none of this stuff does come to light, then hell, you still got some money, and then you can spend it on whatever you want. But it would be
like you'd another Vigilus book, you know.
Yeah. You're going to be kicking yourself, aren't you? You're going to be kicking yourself if it comes to the release, and then all these pre-orders go up, and there's just loads of Orky goodness that you've been waiting years for, and you haven't got the money because a lot of us don't have that sort of disposable income to hand to just go out and purchase. So I would advise people just to hold off on other purchases at the moment, and hold off and keep your money ready so that when this stuff comes out, you've got it there on hand. That's my plan anyway. And then if it doesn't come out, you haven't lost anything because you've still got the money in your hand, and then you can spend it on what you want anyway.
Yeah.
Some consumer advice there from me, guys.
Buyer's advice from Steve-O. Don't buy the Red Gobbo. Save up your pennies. Don't be buying nothing yet. But, you know, that comes down to timeline as well. And then Psychic Awakening, I haven't been paying attention to it because there hasn't been anything coming out for orcs. So I've just had the blinkers on, and I've been focused on other things like Battletech. I'm like, yep, I'll wait until something comes out.
The only one I really paid attention to was the recent one that just came out, and that's only because Reroll Joe collects both Thousand Suns and Dark Angels, so they are my two regular opponent forces that my orcs play against. So I was curious from that point of view to see what he was getting, and we were chatting about it a lot and looking over all the strats and the rules and stuff that they got. So that was the first one that I really looked at in depth, and to give me some reference point of what possibly we could get in ours. And there's lots of new stuff in these books, actually. Lots of new stuff. New stratagems, new warlord traits, new data sheets, new psychic powers, just all sorts of new relics and stuff. So there's a lot of new stuff. So it really does... it's a really big buff to your codex, these books. If your faction's in these books, it buffs your army a lot. And even if the stuff's not necessarily better than what's in the book, it gives you more options and choice and more surprises for your opponent. And what he got in for the Thousand Suns and the Dark Angels was good stuff. There was some very powerful stratagems he had in there, and some very powerful warlord traits and things, particularly for the Thousand Suns. So yeah, if that based on that, and I know they're both marine armies, so they're going to get good shit. But yeah, it gets me quite excited for what we could have. I think we could get some quite good stuff in there.
Yeah, but like when you're saying new data sheets, are they getting new units, new unit releases, or?
Yeah, some of Dark Angel's got a new character who I think was some people like. People were fairly underwhelmed by him because I think people were hoping. I know Joe was hoping for. He was really holding out for the Lion to be released, and that I kind of said to him, that's not going to happen. At least not for a while. It will happen eventually, but yeah, he was hoping for Azrael or one of his other big main characters to get a sort of the Primaris bump and he got this kind of new sort of mid-level, lower-level character that he's not that excited about, but. So yeah, the new miniatures come with the new data sheets and stuff, and there's some updates to data sheets and things in there. But yeah, they're just much more stratagems. Like for him, he got stratagems and things based on his Deathwing to buff them up a bit, and they got a lot of Deathwing were kind of behind other Space Marine chapters, and Dark Angels were kind of behind them in terms of the competitiveness. So they've been brought up to date to match all the other Space Marines to be just as overpowered as the rest of them. But yeah, so there's lots of good stuff in there. He got a lot of good stuff anyway, so I'm hoping we get the same.
So if they sell the stratagem cards separately, you could hold off on buying it then, I suppose? Like, do you have to buy it? I don't, because like I didn't buy this chapter approved, because it's just a case for me. It's like, any points changes, I'll just use, what's it called, that app?
I'm going to plead ignorance, mate, because I don't actually know if they've released any of these on cards. I don't know. If someone in the chat can mention that, I honestly don't know. I think they're just in the book, but I may be wrong on that. There may be options to buy the cards as well to add to your cards, which would be good.
You know yourself, you'll find a PDF somewhere and just make them. You know.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm obviously going to buy, and also I think that these books, I was talked about it on one of my videos recently, on my live video. The special edition of these books, I think, comes with some extra fluff and stuff in there, extra lore. And that's had some mixed opinions and stuff in talking about that it's sort of withholding content from people that buy the normal version. I kind of look at the other hand of that. I'm thinking, actually, if you're going to do a special edition, it's good. If you're paying double the price, it is good that you are getting something extra. And I've sort of said that before with like codexes. I would like to see, if they do continue to always do special editions, which they're going to, I would like a codex special edition to come with extra lore and stuff that the casual player doesn't need or probably want, but like the real hardcore collector would really appreciate that lore.
Something for the effort. Because I remember how heartbroken Dreadwell was when he bought the fucking the limited edition one, and we were like, mate, you're literally paying double just for a cover. He's like, nah, surely there has to be something more to it. We're like, no, mate, seriously.
Yeah, bless him. That was that was definitely buyer's remorse. I think he even demanded his money back, didn't he, from GW?
We'll have to ask him the next time we have him on.
I think that's why he hasn't been making videos for so long. He's been picketing outside their thing. I want my refund.
Protesting. Where's my refund? There's people giving out to me for not drilling me barrels. They're not painted yet, gents. I drill the barrels when they're fully painted. So it's one of the last things I do.
People were giving out to me for not drilling out my grot barrels. I was like, listen, I drill out all my other barrels. I'm not drilling out grot barrels.
You having a laugh, mate? There's like
peedly little guns.
There's 300 of them. It's like, you know what I mean? He's give about one painted miniatures, I paint them. He's give out they're on the wrong base size. I'm like, that's not changing. I don't care. He's like, giving out the barrels aren't drilled. It's like, well, I'll do it eventually, all right? It's taking me 10 years to get some paint on these, you know? We're getting, it's a bit slow. We're getting there. Slowly, lads, slowly. What are you saying? Do we really want to encourage GW to write more? Bad enough as it is. Good old Dim.
I had a feeling he'd have something. I had a feeling. It can't be as bad as Vigilus, surely.
Oh, mate, that Vigilus book. What, you mean the one I told you not to buy?
Yes.
It's almost like my friends don't listen to me when I give them advice.
Less than a half, that was.
Oh, me.
Literally, the only thing that was good in that entire book was that we got the souped-up shocker.
Yeah.
That was it.
Literally, it came out, what, 3 weeks after the codex? It was like, this could have just been put in the old codex, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But alas, That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, this campaign, in terms of just everyone looks for different things, don't they? Some people want to like really good fluff and lore and to actually play some good campaign rules and stuff. Other people just want their army to become more competitive. And if you're one of those people, I think you're going to get a lot more out of these books than you did out of Vigilus. A lot more, because there's a lot of stuff in there. You get a lot of extra tricks and stratagems and traits and stuff. There's lots of goodness to be had there.
So stratagems and traits. So what stratagems would you like to see? What stratagems would people like to see?
I want to see, I posted it the other day on the 40k community, because we're getting Ghazi, I want a stratagem where we can have Ghazi's bully boys, and just like we do with Ard boys or Scar boys, we can spend a CP to upgrade a unit of Mega Nobz to Ghazi's bully boys and give them some kind of buff, whether that be, I don't know, better leadership or
weapon skill or something,
or harder or more efficient or just better, you know, just a souped up version of Mega Nobz to, you know, not only would it be make them better in game, but it would be fluffy as well, because that's a thing we've had before. I remember the old
formation in 7th, yeah,
7th, where you could have Ghazi and his bully boys, and it could be a unit of war bosses and Mega Nobz around him to make like basically an Orc Death Star unit, which was like that. But that would be quite cool. That's one I'd like to see. Don't know if we'll get it, but be good.
Be interesting.
And also, I think I said in my video the other day, actually, I want to see better psychic powers. I'm getting a bit bored of just doing the jump every time, because the jump is so good, and a lot of the others aren't great, especially the offensive ones. I just use Smite. If I want to throw out some mortal wounds, I use Smite, because Smite generally trumps the other ones. They're a bit lackluster.
Well, I suppose that's got to do with balance within the game, and you know what I think of balance in 40k, but we won't go there. But it's a case of, they then nerf the psychic abilities that are good so that people use the
balance, guys.
Well, we won't go down that path.
You leap on me when I say balance.
Well, lack of it, shall we say. Is it a case of, do you think that, you know, the other abilities need to be buffed up to the likes of the jump, or do you think the jump is too powerful for what it is?
Oh, no. Don't you fucking nerf it.
Don't give them ideas, mate. Don't give them ideas.
I rely on that fucking thing to win games, man.
But that, you know what I mean? That's the type of thing that might happen. You know what I mean?
Like, don't even joke about that.
Don't. No.
No, I just want. I think you've got Warpath, so you can give your unit extra attacks, which is a cool one. That's probably the second most popular one. You've got the one where you can buff up a character to make him more brutal. That's also good. But then you've got a one which lowers the leadership thing of things around it. People don't generally use, and it's crap because it's like really hard to pull off as well compared to the others. But it's probably the weakest one of all of them. And then you've got like the ones that kind of only really work against hordes, like where you throw out a load of mortal wounds. It works very good on horde armies. And then you've got the head popper one, which is just not likely to go off and very situational. They're just a bit. And Orc, you think Orc, when you read the lore of Orc psychers and stuff, and how they're chained and held and restrained, and they're gibbering lunatics, and they can't control their powers. It just kind of surges out of them with the build up of war energy and stuff. But when it goes off, it's dangerous to everyone in the vicinity, and I would like to see that represented more. So I'd like to see I'd like to see psychic powers from Weird Boys that are devastating and really scary for your opponent, but will also be potentially devastating and scary for you. It can go wrong rather than just your Weird Boy takes a couple of mortal wounds or whatever. It would be really good for him to explode in spectacular fashion and take out a load of your stuff with him. You know,
because you point and laugh then, and you go, ha.
yeah. Need that randomness for Orcs. That would be very cool if we could see some stuff like that, and just, you know, good, powerful psychic abilities that are volatile and unpredictable.
Garrick Field said he loved that strat idea, Stevo. Orc stuff was saying for strats, Gork's boot. Diakos Delvlin, yeah, he's saying what we need are interesting powers. Garrick Field is saying we need a strat to make Borna Boys useful, something to make them D6 shots. Oh, don't
Yes,
fucking start me.
we
Don't start me on that one.
Yeah, good strat. Good
strat. What you mean? Like they probably should have already. You know what I mean?
Again, a very easy little fix that, because generally with a unit like that, you're only probably going to get to shoot with them once anyway, and then they're going to die. So if you had a strat for like 1 CP that was like, I don't know, extra Prometheum or something, or crank up the fucking heat or something, it could be called something like that. Crank up the heat. I like that.
One of the lads was talking to me about something like that on Discord. He was saying one of the factions, they get like an extra 6 inches on their flamers or something like that.
Yeah, the Dark Angels do extra 3 inches on their assault weapons, which could include flamers.
So you know what that means? If Orcs got something like that, you could deep strike in a unit of Borna Boys 9 inches away from someone and flamethrower the absolute bejesus out of them.
And you know what? Even if it is just D3, that would be a very powerful ability.
And be like, oh, let's make them bad meon. Let's do them showing off. Yeah, could you imagine?
Yeah, then you get your D6, don't you? 2D3 is better than D6.
Like, oh, dirty. Throw a reroll in there, lads. You'll be bleeding laughing.
Heck yeah. But yeah, strats for... I'd like to see strats for some grot units as well. I'd like to see killer cans and mech guns. Killer cans more, because mech guns are pretty competitive. But certainly killer cans would benefit massively from
grot strats.
Strat.
Yeah, some grot strats would be nice. You know what I mean? I think the whole thing of Grots not being able to use the stratagems is it's a bit of a downside for the Orcs.
Strats for Grots would be good. I'd like a sort of proper strat to represent their cowardice. That you could use a strat on them and then they get +2 cover rather than +1 or something. Because quite often a lot of people use their grots for grabbing objectives and just sitting away holding an objective all game, and quite often in cover and stuff. So to represent not only their cowardice but also, you know, give them a bit more survivability or something like that would be quite nice and fluffy as well, I think.
It's not a bad idea.
Represent them being a bit cowardly and hiding and being hard buggers to hit when they're hiding in cover.
Or just being able to use strats in
Yeah.
general. That would be helpful, I'd say.
I think the trouble now is if they just change the rule to them just suddenly being able to use the strats, they've based the whole strats around the idea that they can't use them. So it could potentially open up some sort of game-breaking things, I guess.
Yeah, but that's what you playtest stuff. So you come across these eventualities. So it's like, oh, this combo and this combo and this combo it's pretty broken. But is that not like the base incentive behind some of the game at this point? Where it's like, here, make the most broken combo you can.
Yeah.
When a new army comes out and then they do 2 weeks later, they're like, the FAQ update. And it's like,
that anymore.
Yeah, you can't. Sorry, lads. Can't. Mob up real. Can't do that with Lewis anymore. Sorry about that, lads.
Yeah. But certainly in this, it would be good if they got some grot specific stratagems. It would.
Quite a lot of people in the chat are agreeing with that. It's like let grots use strats, full stop. Other people want to see ones to make pain boss. Strat for grots, 1 CP to allow other orc stratagems to apply unit of grots for a turn. You know what I mean? I don't see why not. The Pale Orc is saying stratagem 3 CP, target units rerolls the hit to wound against an enemy unit to the end of the turn. If you kill the nominated unit combat, gain 2 CP. Ways to get CP back would be good as well, because we are a pretty CP towards the army.
Totally, we need that. Well, your boys get that. They're blood axes, but they're the only buggers that do. And yeah, that would be very good. At least maybe if they had another special character that gave that ability, or a warlord trait, or some sort of shiny gubbins that gives that ability, because virtually every other faction has that, and it's balls, because I start off with way more CP than my opponent, and quite often they end up with more than I've bloody had.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's another thing that the Orc army in general is lacking is the ability to
Do
get back
excuse
CP.
my nose, guys. This cold is killing me.
Because they're pretty CP heavy.
Oh yeah, yeah, they are. It's I was just thought of another one as well while you were chatting away there. Ideas for stratagems keep popping into my head. It will come back to me in a minute.
Oh, you've lost it. I was like, well, feel free to share it, like me.
I've lost it. I was too busy bloody blowing my nose. Yeah, totally fucking lost it.
What else are people saying? A strat defer into combat from outside of combat with the chance to hurt your own units. Yeah, do you know what? I think if Gruts had that ability where you could put them into combat and the Orcs don't care and still shoot in, and like any shots that you miss potentially hit Gruts, that would be hilarious.
Very cool stratagem.
That would be absolutely hilarious.
Whoever just said that, genius. That,
You know what I mean?
that would be fluffy as hell, funny as hell, and it would open up some amazing tactical opportunities. Using the Grot unit as a tar pit and then being able to shoot the fuck out of it.
Yeah, shoot the buggers. Orc stuff was saying Gruts used to have some buff to being in cover. They did back in the day.
And they should. I think it would represent their cowardice and stuff and very well. And they'd still be fairly easy to kill, to be fair.
Yeah. Like,
They'd still be pretty easy
just
to
loads
kill.
of them.
But it just might give them that little bit of survivability just to hold a couple more Grots would survive to be able to hold on to that objective and get you another victory point, and could be a game changer. I've just remembered the stratagem idea though. Just have a strat called Furious Charge, so that when the Orcs charge in, they just throw out a load of mortal wounds, similar to where we've got the ramming speed with the vehicles. It's a simple one, but I think it would represent the effect of being charged by a big mob of boys would have, and just to throw out some mortal wounds on the attacks.
Lose a lot of bodies. I was thinking with the Gruts that you should have a CP where, like, effectively the Gruts get herded onto the enemy before your guys, before your Orcs charge. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they used to clear landmines and stuff like that. So I thought if there was a stratagem called Cannon Fodder, where if you charge a unit with Gruts, you use this command point, you charge a unit with Gruts, and it would stop them from overwatching anything else that turn. So you'd sacrifice a unit of Gruts to get absolutely decimated, and then you could charge in with something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a good one as well, because Grots are, with the Overwatch these days, quite
Overwatch is
very
decimated.
possible that a unit of Grot gets wiped out by Overwatch. So that's a good way to make that worth taking that risk. Definitely, to protect you more.
Well, yeah, it's a sacrifice. So it's not a case of like with some stratagems or some abilities that people have where it's like you go to shoot this unit and I'll just like the tail one does my bleeding nut in with the shield rounds. Their abilities. You should be able to.
Overwatch. I never experienced Overwatch like.
But you know what I mean? Like even if there was a stratagem like that, it's like it's not like the Overwatch is totally nullified. They'll still get to shoot the snot out or something. It just prioritizes one unit being decimated rather than the other. You know what I mean? It gives you a chance.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of melee armies are. Shooting is king this edition, isn't it? This edition, shooting is king. And melee armies and horde armies are suffering because of that. And so I think it does not just a problem with orcs. I think it's with nids as well.
Yeah.
And to probably a lesser extent, armies like Khorne and stuff. I think they do struggle quite a bit in this very shooty edition. And so I think something to offset and give the player some options to, the clever player, these stratagems or tactics and things that they can use to give units a chance to get into combat. I've seen a lot of other people saying about orcs should be able to damage the enemy if they fall back, or to chase them down and prevent them from falling back and things, to lock them into combat, which again would help give them that buff in combat. And because a lot of people have said as well that the competitive orc armies now are shooty orc armies, and they're right in a lot of cases, and unless if you're playing Bad Moons and stuff, yeah, it fits the lore in that, but it's not helpful to like goth players and more a traditional orc army. So they do need some buffs there, and I think
It's what I like to get stuck in. Yeah.
some of those clans need a bit of a buff. Goths, snake bites need a bit of a boost to bring them up to the same line as Bad Moons and Evil Suns and Death Skulls, because those three are definitely the sort of 3 top tier clans, that's for sure.
It's looked like Dim Reaper and Dreadwire are looking to get themselves together to have a 2-man cha-cha called Two Hairy Nobz.
I like it. I like it. 2 beardy knobs. There you
Two
go.
beardy knobs, 2 beardy gits. Yeah, that's it. You can call them 2 beardy gits. Who else is saying? I was playing against Nids the other day and watched 2 full units of boys get wiped by Overwatch from 1 Tyrannofex. Oof.
Fuck.
Ouchies.
Mate,
Navanis.
I've got no. Go on. I'll leave you to read the comments.
There's a couple here. We've got another one. We got a suicide strap for scarabs with the Necrons. Quite useful for time to time to do an extra D3 mortal wounds. Not impossible to visualize a grot running around with a bomb to detonate. Yeah, true.
Suicide grots, yeah, sort of like the night goblins work in fantasy.
The fanatics.
The fanatics. A little surprise in the thing, and yeah, you could do something similar.
Well, you
like
wouldn't
that.
even have to do that with a strat. It's just a case of let us take full units of bomb squigs. There you go. That's, you know what I mean. 15 units strong of bomb squigs. They do some bleeding damage. They would.
I think it'd be quite cool in a grot unit though to have
bomb squigs.
for every 10 grots you can upgrade one to be a suicide grot who's just packed with
a bomb squig rider. There you go. See?
Yeah, there you go.
Have like squig riders, bomb squig riders. Who else is saying? We have Garrick Field saying 2 CP, small but deadly. Nominate an enemy character at the start of the game. If the enemy character is killed by the unit of Gretchen, not Mekon's proper grots, immediately gain 3 victory points. Something like that. Something narrative.
Very cool. Oh, I've got one. I want a psychic power where you can turn a character into a squig.
Oh, you miss old Zogwart, yeah? Just give us back old Zogwart. That was.
Yeah, I mean, that would be best. But if not that, at least give us his power so it's like a little nod back to him, you know? I know they do fun things like that before with bits of war gear and stuff. It's a little nod back to an old character. So, yeah, something. I think at this stage, asking for Zogwart, even my level of enthusiasm and optimism knows that's probably not going to happen.
That's off the cards, is it?
Yeah, mind you, Makari was off the cards. You never know.
Well, this is it. Like,
I'd love to. How cool would that be to turn, you know, I don't know, Chaos Warlord or something into a squig? That'd just be
and then you'd have like a squig model already made and customized. So if it's your mate, you could have it so that it's like a squig with a chaos helmet on it or something like that. That'd be hilarious.
Oh yeah.
And you just be like, there you go, mate. You know, that would be absolutely hilarious.
Turn like Elrond Ulfwan into a bloody little squig with a bloody pansy hat on. Or
pansy hat or a pansy haircut or something. Something hilarious. Because then that would be a fun little project for you. You could go around making little squigs for your mates' HQ characters.
Oh, give you bragging rights for years to come.
Do you remember the time we turned him into a squig? And then he saved the day for you in close combat. That would be pretty fun. Gareth Field is saying, I wish we could take units of squigs. Yeah, man, I don't see why we can't take units of squigs. That'd be fun. Dame was saying grot scabs used to be a thing with fire bombs. I do remember you saying something about that, Dame, the other day. He's saying, you two have now officially put more thought into 40k orcs than GW has in this one stream. It's like, oh, doesn't take much effort. Don't worry. Navani is saying, time to invest in Stompus, Stevo. Skarnir pays. They're not.
Yeah, like, no, not yet. Not yet.
They're not that expensive, man. You know what I mean? What is it? They're the same price as Gorkonuts or Morkonuts?
To be fair, it's probably a good time to buy one now while they're still at a fairly reasonable price, because they are inevitably going to go up at some point.
The Stompers, yeah.
Yeah, they are probably, they do in terms of like the what you get for your money in terms of the miniature itself. They're very good value compared to other GW miniatures. Because
Well,
they're only a tiny bit more than the Gorkanauts, aren't they? Literally, but you're getting like almost double the size.
oh, they're the
Bloody
same
miniature.
price. They're the same price now.
Oh, they're the same price now. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's incredible value.
they are the
Um,
same price now.
for
Well,
one of
I
the
heard a
largest
rumor.
kits that GW make and
I
plastic
heard
kit.
a rumor off of someone who used to work in Games Workshop HQ that he was told by somebody that back when they first came out, and it sort of pays into the reason why when you still buy them these days, they're in their old boxes. They're out in the old Apocalypse boxes from when they were originally made. And he told me that apparently Games Workshop, when they first made the Stompers, made an absolute bucket load of them and thought they'd sell. But they didn't. So they've been sitting on a stockpile of them. Apparently, now this is a rumor now, but I heard it from someone who worked in Games Workshop back in the day. And apparently they're sitting on an absolute bleeding stockpile of the bleeding things. And that's part of the reason why A, their packaging hasn't changed, and B, they're still priced pretty cheap. They're just trying to sell the Zog and things off.
Also, I think some of their pricing, because sometimes it's not always the scale of the miniatures, is it? It's also the detail and the amount of parts and the sprues, and that comes into their pricing sometimes, doesn't it? And by today's standards, that is a fairly simple kit, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
it doesn't have lots of intricate little parts and stuff.
What
It's
is
very,
it now? It's like, what, about 15 years old? 64, like, what, 4th edition? Wasn't it? No, it would have been 5th edition, I think.
Yeah, I think it was fifth. I think, yeah, it was
So
Apocalypse.
maybe it's like 12 years old. They're definitely at least 10 years old. That the Stomper came out, because they came out at the same time as the plastic Baneblade kits.
Mm. But yeah, it's not a kit I'm planning on getting anytime soon. But probably should, like I say, because it's likely to, it was likely to go up a bit. Demand will certainly go up if they make the rules good for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think that's what it's been suffering for a long time, is just terrible points cost.
Very long time.
Not great rules. Rock Lobster said, "I take my Stomper to my mate as my mascot. He cheers from the sidelines, does he?"
I think that's the only thing that's kept it really popular, isn't it? It's just because people really do love that kit.
Well, I think it's the Marmite of the Orc miniature line. People either love the Stomper or they absolutely hate it. There doesn't seem to be an in between. Like, it's either you really love it or you really hate the bleeding thing. And I'm like, I like the kit, but I do know there's other people who absolutely despise it. But it's good for bits either way. As a kit. For bits that you get on it, it's good. It's really good for bits. It's got some unique grots in it.
Yeah, I'd like it for some of the grot riggers.
Yeah, some of the riggers are actually pretty cool, man. They got like stacks of stuff in them.
And I like the orc sort of pilot dude, the knob in there. That's
The commander. Yeah,
it's good.
he's nice. Yeah, he's cool if you put like a pair of binoculars on him. He's really good for a tank commander. Like there are some really good bits in the Stomper kit. Even if you were to rebuild the core of the Stomper, the body, because a lot of people don't like the way the legs are and stuff, which I can understand. So if you rebuilt the body, and then you could take the torso of the Stomper and make your own fort or something, or you know what I mean, like a Rex Stomper, and you turn it into an outpost or something along that line.
I'm not keen on the way it looks like it's wearing a skirt.
Yeah,
I don't like that, and I don't like the gun. I think the gun looks like conversion. I've said this before. To me, the gun looks like when I've seen people make conversions out of old bits of rod or piping and stuff, and it doesn't. It just, something about it to me looks bodged up and kit bashed or scratch built, but not in a good way. It looks, I don't know, it's something about it just doesn't look, it's not intricate enough. I think there's something about it that just to me looks a bit crap. But there's elements of it I do really like. There's parts of it I like.
There's one thing I've always thought about the Stomper kit, and then I think its arms are too weedy.
Yes,
Like,
I agree.
they're really thin, and you know what I mean. There's this bulk of a body, And then there's these super weedy arms. I've always thought that the arms needed bulking up for it to give it to make it look like if it hits you, it's gonna tear you a new one. Do you know what I
One
mean?
of the reasons I like the Gorkanaut actually, because I love the chunky look of his weapons, the claw of Gork and the big Gatling gun and that, with the guy stood on the back shooting it, which I think is hilarious. I love those design elements of the Gorkanaut and stuff. So, and also one of my favourite miniatures from back in the day when I played Epic, or attempted to play Epic as like a 13-year-old boy, was the Stompers, the Epic scale Stompers had then, and I'd have loved a 40k scale one of them, which looked like them, because I really liked them.
What the different ones, like the slasher ones and all these type of
Yeah,
guns
they
and
had
stuff.
the big old chain sort of arm, and the gun was more like a just rather than a sort of a Gatling sort of big piddly long skinny looking thing. It was just a big brutish looking cannon, which was definitely I thought looked a lot better. And I like they had more sort of Morkanaut style faces with like the one big eye and stuff. And yeah, I like that kind of look.
Dread saying he hates the Stomper. Garrick is saying, too many Imperials at the Squigs got squatted for his insolence. That must be Alzog War. Modeling for Advantage is saying Gorkanaut is way worse in my opinion. Well, I can get that. I can get that.
There's a lot of people that don't like the Morkanauts and Gorkans. I know a lot of people.
They're another sort of marmite of the Orc community. I can understand. People either love or hate the bleeding things. Dread is saying kit is okay for some bits, but as a model, it's awful. Big Mac Danskull is saying I'm not a fan of the dress it's wearing either. So he's with you on that one. I can understand that. Hans is saying he agrees with me about the arms, about them being like too weedy. You know what I mean? Someone definitely missed Arm Day when they were designing the Stomper. It's really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they kind of look like an afterthought.
Yeah, it's like they sort of were like, right, we came up with the body, now let's just bolt some arms on and away you go.
I think the head's too big as well. I find the jaw bit, I don't know, it looks, I don't know, I don't like the head. I like the heads on the Gorkanauts and Morkanauts. I'd have preferred something designed in a similar way to that.
It's very rounded, I think, is the problem. And I think if they made it more angular and box-like, like some of the old Epic stuff, it would look more brutish. Do you know what I mean? It would look like it's a walking building as opposed to a child sand bucket. You dying over there, Stevo?
You know, and you got a sneeze coming.
It's like I need to sneeze.
It's going to be mid-sentence, and it's going to come. There's suddenly going to be sneeze right there.
There'll be boogers everywhere.
No, bless you.
Way. Dread is saying it's just not imposing, stompy, or scary at all. It looks lame and pathetic. Yeah, I think it needs to look a bit meaner. Modeling for Advantage saying he loved Epic so much. I've never played Epic, but you sort of lived off of that, Stevo, back in the day, didn't you? That was your sort of first taste.
It was my first sort of foray into proper wargaming. My only experiences before that was Hero Quest and Space Crusade.
Oh
yeah. When I was in primary school, that was I had Space Crusade, and I was into them in a big way. And then through high school, a friend reading White Dwarf, I was like, all these space, they look familiar in that. And then I kind of figured out it was part of this big universe and stuff. And I loved the idea of, I was just immediately blown away by like, you can play a game with a massive army. Like, oh, that's cool. And then when I saw the Epic scale, I was like, you can play a game with a massive fucking army. And I just loved that idea. And so, yeah, I got into that first, but I didn't have any big brothers or sisters to show me the rules or teach it to me. And so me and the friends who had it attempted to play it and attempted to understand the rules. But yeah, we just end up playing a very, very simplified versions of it. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I remember it well. I remember having the Imperial Titan that had on the base, you had the little dial that you moved around, the little cardboard dial that moved how many wounds he had left and stuff. And I used to go there was a toy shop / model shop in the town where when you went upstairs, you had toys downstairs, and then upstairs they had all Airfix kits and miniatures up there and stuff. And I used to go up there and with my pocket money buy like for £5 the little Epic sets, you had the boxes, and you had like tanks or different little armies, and then you almost got like a little army in a box because you've got a lot of little bases of miniatures and stuff. And I just used to buy random stuff. I bought Elder stuff, Space Marine stuff, Orc stuff, and just it was some good memories from that. It got me into it, but never really played it properly.
Yeah, maybe you should get around to it one day if you get the chance. Get someone to show you how to play Epic properly.
Yeah, that would be cool, actually.
Go trip down memory lane. It might be either really great, or you'll be like, "Is that it? I expected more."
Like I say, there's one of my favourite Orc miniatures ever is the Mega Gargant from Epic. Very square, boxy looking fucker with like scaffolding crane arm and like 10 cannons all poking out of his chest. And that for me, I was like, oh, if there's one thing I would love Forge World to make that I will never be able to afford, is that one day Forge World make a 40k scale Mega Gargant. That would be
Mega Gargant. That'd be bigger than a Warlord, me.
Yeah, it'd just be stupid. Can you imagine that? Because they're certainly bigger in girth. Like it's just a big square with a head on top. But I just love it. I love the crudeness and simplicity of it, and I love that design. And I've seen some scratch builds of people have done things with it, but I love them. I love them. They're brilliant.
Quite a lot of people are saying they loved Epic. I think Mullen for Advantage is saying got some quality game and pedigree there. So many of us followed that path with Epic. Other people are saying that they don't like the Ghazghkull. It's stupid that it's a wardrobe on legs. Other folk are saying I'd like the stomp it to look more like the Death Tread, but still at its size, so it actually looks like it can stomp stuff. So yeah, it is a mixed bag. Either you love or you hate them.
I quite like that idea, actually, of it looking a bit more like a Death Dread. I quite like this. I think if it did look just like a Death Dread, it might look too fast.
You want it to look sort of like slow and purposeful, sort of.
Yeah, I want it slowly and menacingly, just stomping relentlessly.
Yeah, I get you.
I think that always looks quite good. I think with scale, it's important that they're slow. It adds to the whole kind of feel of it and the weight and scale of it.
Well, it just depends, really. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when they were bringing out the Stompers, there was different profiles. There was like the Goth Rock and Roller, which was like a Stomper with a Death Roller, big massive Death Roller, and that's all it did was run into stuff.
Like a lawnmower.
Yeah, look at you on Lawnmower Old School. Modeling for Advantage is asking, who is painting, by the way? That is me modeling for Advantage. I am the one painting some boys. They are very, very work in progress. But it's getting there. I'm just throwing some lead belcher on these boys. I've got the skin finished on them, but I need to do the teeth. And yeah, I'm just sort of, going through painting them. Getting there. I'm using these like super cheap ass brushes I got like from a hobby store. They're just like Humbrol brushes, but they're grand. I'm surprised. I think I spent like £5 on them or something like that, and I got like 5 in a bag, and they do the job. You know what I mean? Especially because it's just hordes upon hordes of boys. I'm not too bothered about them. It's like if the brushes die, they die. It's not the end of the world. I'll just go out and buy another pack for like 10 quid.
This is my cup of brushes.
Give us a look.
They're all cheap. Yep. I've got a couple of Army Painter ones, a couple of Citadel ones. I've got one of my misses is makeup brushes there, which is fucking incredible for doing some light dusting, dry brushing. Go into like cheap sort of pound stores, whatever, and look for makeup brushes. They are incredible for doing some like sort of
weathering powders.
Yeah, really good. They're so good. So yeah, every time she comes back with like a pack of makeup brushes, I'm like, oh, I'm like looking through them. She's like, no, you can fuck off.
So take revenge on you one day. You'll come back and find her doing her eyeliner with your wash brush or something like that. You'll be like, for fuck's sake.
It's funny you mentioned actually. She was repairing her makeup box the other day with my super glue.
See, hobby comes in handy. Hobby does indeed come in handy.
It does. Yeah, I'm also painting. I'm trying to repaint and fix up this war boss at the moment. I've just painted up one part, one color, and then gone, nope, don't like that. So I'm now painting over it again with a different color.
Repaint it, yeah. I think that's what puts me off painting as well, especially when it comes to doing big numbers of orc boys, is if you don't have your paint scheme hashed out beforehand, I find I waste a lot of the time painting them up and then repainting, and you don't want to be doing that with a large unit because it sort of fucking it demoralizes you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
You should
not
have
so bad with a character. But...
you should have your paint scheme hashed out before you decide to attack them. So if you have maybe there's like an orc, a spare orc you have, or even if you don't, just do one of them and paint them up fully and hash it out and get your technique down to where it's like, right, I do this color first, I do that color after that. You know what I mean? Like with these
exactly
guys,
what I did, and that is that's good advice.
with these guys, I find when I'm painting boys, I do the skin first, because it's the innermost layer. Because there's no point me doing all the uniform and the guns and stuff, and then I'm trying to do the skin, and then I'll hit off of bits I've already painted. So I try and do the skin first, and then I work my way out. I'll do like the clouds and the metal and stuff like that. Depending on where it is. Realistically, I probably should have done all their clothes and pants before I did the metal, but I know that I'll do all the leather after I've done the metals. Do you know what I mean? And then after that, it's like teeth and horns and working your way out from the layers. Hans is saying, what about a stomper that started out as a death trap, but over the years has more stuff added to it and ends up being a stomper? I'm sure many a stomper ended up that way.
That's cool. Yeah,
quite a lot of the orc vehicles end up that way. If you look at the lore, like a lot of the battle fortresses, it's a case of like it was a battle wagon that got built upon and built upon and built upon, and eventually it's like it's so big, it's a battle fortress. Like it's another class of vehicle. Mullen for Advantage is saying, these days I buy cheap brushes and throw them away quickly rather than sweating out expensive ones that have gone poorly. Yeah, mate, there's like, especially if you're banging out a lot of troops and stuff, you don't want to be trying to...
I find sometimes this brush here that I'm using is gone curled, but actually sometimes when they've got that curl on them, I find them quite handy for getting into and under little bits. That little curl I use to my advantage sometimes. When
there's a kink in them, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, that's grand, I'll just catch this bit in here. That's a pain in me butt. Got it. But yeah, me and brush care. I even buy brush soap and they still die on me. I don't know what it is. I don't dip the whole paintbrush into the ferrule. I use a bigger brush to get paint out of the pots. They just die on me. I don't know what it is.
I'm terrible at taking care of my brushes. I think I've washed them out and then I come back to it, I'm like, oh fuck, I've left them on my desk and they've still got them like shit. So it's better. Like my missus got me for my birthday, she goes on Amazon and buys, they're called Golden Maple, and they're not the ultra cheap, but they're fairly cheap. But you get a pack of loads of them from all different scales, and I really like the handles on them. They're big, thick on the bit, so you can hold it like one. You know those pens that help people handwrite properly, sort of thing. They're kind of like that, and so they're good. I find these easily on par with like Games Workshop or Army Painter brushes. I've had some they've got really good detail ones and big sort of thicker ones, and yeah, I'm a big fan of them. So I think she's got me 2 packs of those now. Yeah, big fan of those. And that way, like I say, you can just, that one's fucked, throw it in the bin, or that's now a basing brush or whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's what tends to happen to some of the ones that I have. They just die a death and then they get designated as you're getting used for PVA glue now, or you're used for dry brushing, or you're used for painting bases even after you've put the glue on and sanded them, because that'll kill your brush as well, painting over sand. You might as well be painting over a foil, like.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
some people forget that. Like,
I've also, the only thing I've seen or people saying about, I'd generally say like really expensive brushes are kind of only there for
characters,
pro painters so much, like people that are really going that mile and like really, taking it to that next level. But I've seen a lot of people saying on reviews and things of some of them, certain ones anyway, saying that the way they design them and stuff, they hold a lot of paint, and you have to dip in the paint less. It just keeps sort of giving you paint as you're painting and stuff. Some of the brushes, but I would have one of them really expensive brushes, and then I'd forget to wash it, or I'd fucking do something stupid with it, and then be gutted.
Yeah, be the end of it. What were we saying here? Orc stuff saying, can still remember my claw stomper getting charged by Gobsmasher's rock and roll. It got a free flying lesson. Yeah, I remember that. Gobsmasher actually bought the actual rock and roller off of eBay, the lucky git. Fair play to him. One of the boys from the Apocalypse games that we go to. He has the actual one. Whoever your man was, who was in the White Dwarf at the time, sold it on eBay. Garrick Field said, I totally changed my biker's paint style midway through. Mrs. did one of them. So I have 3 that look all neat and shiny, and the rest are battered and gritty. I'm just going to build more though. Well, this is the beauty of it with orcs. You can get away with that sort of thing. Other armies, if you change even like the tone of the paint, say it was, what are they, Imperial Fists? What are the ones, the yellow ones? Yeah, it's the Imperial Fists, isn't it? Yeah. Like, you have to get the yellow tone on them correct, because even if it's slightly off, you'll look at it from afar and your eye will notice, because that's what humans are good at, is noticing when there's something different. So like if you walk into a building and it's tiled and there's one tile out of place, you'll notice your eye just goes, the fucking you know what I mean?
It's like that patch on the carpet where the cabinet's been and you've moved it, and then it's the one patch of the carpet that hasn't been like bleached by the sun or dirty from footprints and that. It's like,
down,
I've made a clean spot now. What am I going to do now?
Standing on it with your dirty runners, just wiping them in the carpet. This is like, what are you doing? It's like, give me a day or two, love. It'll be like the rest. Don't worry. Yeah, I get you. What were people saying? Like, I got the same brush as Stevo. I got myself a Winsor & Newton though recently. It's like easy mode. I have heard the Winsor & Newton Series 7s are supposed to be good. I just never got around to actually getting them, because I'm not much of a painter, if I'm being honest.
I'm certainly not.
Oh, Jesus, no. I find I paint too slow, but you say the same yourself.
Yeah, and like I said in your post recently, you definitely paint quicker than me. I just think I go about it probably all wrong. I've had people ask me before, saying, "Oh, are you going to do any sort of painting tutorial videos and things?" I'm like, "No, guys, I'm the wrong person."
It's like, mate, I can't paint for sure.
I could do it. I could show you what I do, but I think a lot of people would be quick to say that's bad advice. Don't do it that way. But we all find our own comfortable way, don't we, that we're comfortable with, and everyone's got their own technique and stuff, and it's good to just try what works for you and crack on. Contrast paints is the big thing that keeps coming up all the time, especially with orcs. People say contrast, and I totally see why, because you can get some really good results very quickly.
Oh, definitely. And if I didn't have my colour palette already down, I'd probably, like, if I was starting new, I'd probably start with contrast paints.
Same. I probably would. I'd at least try it anyway.
Yeah. Like, when I'm painting the Battletech stuff, there's a few of the units that are white. Their colour scheme is white. I reckon I'll buy some of the contrast white. Is supposed to be really good. I'll give that a bash. And see what it's like. Now, Vanny is saying, if she really stopped joining in these streams, I always get tempted to start getting orcs, but I don't know if I could hide a 4th army from the wife. Sell some of the stuff you don't use, mate. Part with some of it. You know what I mean?
Well, compromise, mate. Compromise. Go for a dread mob or something. Make an elite orc army. There you go.
You don't have to... Yeah. I'll notice as much.
If you go all mega knobs, you won't have a high model count, but just don't let us see your bank account.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, man. Oh, I think it's just as expensive now. It's more expensive to buy mega knobs now than it was when they were metal. I find that perplexing. It's like you get a box of 3 plastics, and back in the day you got 5 metal ones. It's like, they've like nearly doubled. Oh, Coil's giving out Zog. You need to post when these things start. It's like, well, yeah, all right. Sorry about that. I forgot to post the time up in some of the places. I'd cheer it up, or just be like me. Dedicate half your house to hobby and have an army that is Legion.
We posted times. I had it posted on my community section on my YouTube channel saying the time.
So what you're saying is, if he's giving out, it's your fault, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You'll take the blame for this one.
Any responsibility. Well, it's fine though, man. You can watch it back non-live and enjoy
the
it.
shenanigans.
I was gonna one thing I wanted to talk about actually. It's funny because I remember on your stream with Dim the other day, and they were talking about the sort of 8th edition and the codex and stuff and everything, and you know, basically, obviously not giving it a glowing review and stuff, and there's a few people that have sort of said that, like, oh, I've had a few people comment saying like the worst edition ever or worst code. And in the post about recently, like a lot of people were saying, oh, I'm surprised some people think that, like, because I think they're really competitive and in a good place. And I did notice actually that a lot of the people talking like that immediately assumed that people meant that it was bad because of the competitiveness and that. But I think actually a lot of people's issues with it is more like based on sort of lore and fluff and the general mechanics, isn't it? Rather than, oh, it's bad because orcs aren't competitive. I don't think that's what people are saying.
So we're wading into this one. Are we?
I don't think that's what you and Dim were saying, was it?
We're getting into whether this codex is good or bad, or whether it's the worst, and then there was different opinions as to why it might be the best. Why some people think it's the best codex.
Dim raised a good point in what he was saying, because, like, as you know, me and Dim disagree a lot, but he did raise a very good point in saying that, because as I was talking about the Death Stars and the stuff in 7th and that, and that's it, we were talking about Beardy. Why does no one use the term beardy anymore? And he raised a really good point, actually. He said, because it was a term we used in the old days for when people made these really beardy lists of like min-max lists, powerful fucking kill at all costs, and they put these stupid combos in, and unfluffy lists just to win at all costs sort of lists. And he said it was a term we used as a sort of a derogatory term in the day of in like, oh, that beardy player like doing that and stuff. And he said in this day and age, people are far more focused on those type of lists, and it's much more mainstream. And I was like,
norm,
you know what? He raises a good point actually, and I know it's one of his big issues with like 8th edition and the modern 40k. But yeah, it's funny because then I said on, you know, the response I had on the post on the group, a lot of people was going, oh, it's not bad, you know, they're good, the orcs are good and everything. I'm like, yeah, but I don't actually think that's why a lot of people don't like it. I think a lot of it can be fluff reasons and all sorts of stuff.
I just want to say something straight away. I am like super proud because when I saw you post that topic up, I was sitting there going, oh Jesus, oh here we go, there's gonna be a bleeding flame war. Jesus, what's he done? And you know what, I have to hand it to the people in the 40k orc community group. It was very civilized discussion, I have to say, and I've very rarely seen that in a lot of groups. I'm quite proud of the group on that. There was nobody was getting called out for it. Nobody was calling names. We were all, I think it's good for this reason, I think it's good for that reason, or you know, people were explaining how they did or didn't like the codex. But then from what I found, like, people were taking into account what other people were saying, and just for social media in general, like, it's a Facebook group. It's a pretty rare thing to find. So if you're part of the 40k orc community group, I'm proud of you. I really am. I thought that was gonna descend into bleeding madness, as it does in a lot of groups. But you know,
man, here.
There was a lot of points brought up. I can see how people like the codex and we think it's the best one because, you know, bringing clans back and clan rules. I can see that aspect of it. Myself personally, I'm not super happy with the codex because a lot of core units were taken out, And my comment straight off the bat was Mega Armored Warboss. Like, even when we were sitting down and doing the Two Bald Knobs episode and reviewing the codex and looking over it, the very first thing when we were going over the HQ was like, where's the Mega Armored Warboss?
Yeah.
Like, regardless of, whether you think the Lobbies should have been there or not, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw Mega Armored Warboss wasn't there, I was like, what is this bollocks?
Trump card. Whenever we're debating it or arguing it,
but
and
you know what I mean?
we do
That's the
debate it
reason
quite a
why
lot.
for me.
Whenever you say that, I'm like, oh, fucking
I can't. It's like I can't counter that. It's like,
I've got nothing. I've got nothing for you.
but even in saying that, I can understand how people might find it's the best codex for them. You know what I mean? So I can express that I don't like this codex for certain reasons, but I can also understand why people do like it, and it might be their favorite. And just because I don't like it doesn't mean it can't be your favorite. You know what I mean? I think that happens quite a lot as well when you're discussing things. People sometimes take it that if you don't like something, that you might be shitting on them, and it's like, it's not at all, man. You know
Well, I think the best comment on that post that we got, was that someone commented saying about how well mannered and how respectful the debate was, and they said I have to come to
an orc group.
An orc group to get this kind of like well thought out discussion. And I think it's great. I think, like you say, it just shows I've said from the beginning that we've got the best freaking community going, and it just proves it. It just proves it. My original post was obviously a tongue-in-cheek, poking a bit of fun and stuff. And I think it's important to be able to have banter and poke fun at each other and stuff and have banter. But if it's well-natured and good, and we can disagree on shit, it doesn't matter. We can totally disagree, but to see people like, we're all nerds, we all love miniatures and wargaming and stuff, and it's just like, there's more important things to fall out over. I mean, shit me. So yeah, it's refreshing to see that you can have that, and and not have someone, just, I don't know, like
nobody took it personally is the thing.
No, that's it. Why do you go like, just, I don't know, just to hear someone go, if you really enjoy something and then someone goes, oh, I think it's crap, like why do you get so angry about that? Like, just like, how dare you? Like, I don't know, it's just, it's weird. It's weird. It's immature is what it is.
No, I can understand how people take it personally though as well. It's like something becomes such a big part of what you do as a person, that it becomes a little bit of your identity as such. But that's just the commercial society we live in now. We're told, even people who drive certain cars and all this type of stuff, a lot of it's built around brand.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot to do with that.
Well, and also I think when you're doing these channels, like these channels and YouTube channels, you get like, I think I'm getting a reputation as a little bit like Chapter Master Valrek. I'm the enthusiastic one. I'm always buzzing and I'm always excited about the stuff, and I never learn. Whereas people like Dread and Dim are definitely developing a reputation as the pessimistic or cynical sort of viewpoint on that. But I think it's just, and people can then sort of almost use that against you in a way and sort of disregard your opinion on things. But
yeah, you become like a stereotype in their eyes. It's like you're only ever negative.
Well, of course Stevo's going to say it's good because he fucking thinks everything's good, or they'll say, oh, of course Tim's going to think it's crap because he thinks everything's crap. But I don't think it generally, people kind of, but we all got different opinions. We all like different things. Like some people, like yourself, you're not into 8th edition at all, and I really like 8th edition. And it's funny but actually when you talk about the reasons and you debate the reasons why it's crap or why it's good, actually the very reasons sometimes someone lists as it being crap is the very reasons I like it. Some people can't stand the stratagems and the synergy, the way things have to work together and synchronize, and they're like, oh, it's crap because of that. But me personally, I really like that units have to sync up, and they, it's. But it's good that we can have a
debate. We can have a friendly debate about it. But like you're talking about stratagems and stuff, I don't think the problem is synergies within the army. Like, I would say that the problem is the over dependence on units' special abilities and stratagems over the units themselves. Like, you could almost say we're playing top trumps now, or we might as well be doing a collectible card game with just miniatures added on. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the core mechanic of what makes a unit good now is, does this have a really good ability? Yes. Can I make a broken combo out of it? Yes. And I can stack it in with this stratagem. And it's like they're all separate from the model, it's the miniature itself, and even like some of the base stat lines. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
an awesome ability would trump like an increase in your stat line most of the time,
Yes.
because they can be game breaking. I'd say that's my personal issue with it. It's not that synergies are bad, it's sort of like the way that it's done, more so. Where it just feels like you've got to buy this book because it has these winning stratagems, you know?
Yeah, I guess before synergy and stuff was an enhancement to things and your tactics and overall list building and stuff, but now it's become like a really integral and important part of it. And if things aren't synergized in that, then you're kind of innate if you're not playing the game properly, are you?
It's just the way the meta's going.
And yeah, there definitely is, like Dim said the other day, there's definitely a culture change with, there's very much the meta lists and stuff now. I mean, in my game against Idic recently, where Idic absolutely battered me, people were very quick to criticize the list building that I done. Oh, you shouldn't have had these, and he had a crap list and stuff. And I'm like, I wasn't going into that game really knowing that I had a good list. I was just using. I mean, I was using mostly units because they were painted. So I was trying to use as many painted miniatures as possible. So I was generally using stuff that was generally not very competitive. But yeah, it's funny how the community now definitely does jump on that. But I think that's more of an issue with the sort of the tournament scene and the community itself. And that whole stuff, I think, rubs off on the edition. And I think people criticize a rule set sometimes, but they're not always criticizing the rule set. They're criticizing the people that play the game, or
The culture behind the game.
culture behind the game.
Yeah.
And that's not always a fault of the game itself, but it's there's lots of layers to it.
There were people saying, Damien is saying he finds it boring, and synergy games that are built around a gimmicky model kit geared towards tournament play. That's most war games at this point. How many do tournament players need? Orc Stuff is saying the real set forces you to not think like an orc, too much like Magic the Gathering. Dread agrees with him. Navani says, my main issue is the lack of randomness and the pace of the game. In 8, still not used to the games. Be over in third or even second turn. Yeah, games are like super quick now. Ooh.
They certainly can be. If you're coming with a sort of a bit more of a fluffy sort of fun list, and you come up against a meta list, yeah, you could potentially be wiped out easily on turn 2 or 3, and yeah.
There's a lot more tabling now, I find, than
Yeah.
there ever has been in previous editions.
I don't suffer it much in my sort of gaming group. My games generally go the distance most of the time, or at least very close to the distance. But I have noticed, that in upping, when I've played Nick and is certainly in his tournament and stuff, I was playing against a different level of opponents, and it was fun from that experience, but it was a culture shock to me of being like, well, I've still got a lot to learn in terms of 8th edition and how to build a really competitive list and play and stuff. And but it was fun. That's not a negative in any respect. But yeah, it's yeah, you can the meta lists and stuff now, and there's so much more easy access to meta lists now, isn't there? With sort of YouTubers and stuff shared, it's definitely a lot more out there and easily obtainable by people to find out what these lists are and metas and combos and things.
Dan was saying removing game crafts such as templates and stuff like that rips the soul out for me. I don't need an army list simulator to me, and that's all 8th edition is. I agree with his point with some of the game craft being taken out, and the game craft, for people who haven't sort of heard the terminology before, is mechanics in the game that you have to learn, but they're based off of your skill. So if you're doing guess range weapons, you know what I mean, you have to learn how to be good with guess range weapons to get the most out of it. So it's sort of, it makes you learn another skill. I'd agree with him on that one. I do miss templates. And even though people are like, you're an orc player, you're mad, you know, loss of templates was great. I'm like, no, I love templates. They were very immersive to me.
Well, I think again, some people instantly go to the, oh, they were good because of the competitiveness, or they were bad because of competitiveness. But I think actually, some people miss templates because they added to the sort of the feel of the game and the
immersion.
Yeah, you see an explosion sort of thing, and like Dim was saying, that you actually have to use a little bit of experience and gamecraft, as he calls it, of like, oh, that's about 24 inches, I'm gonna guess, so yeah, I do see that, but yeah, competitively, templates were both a blessing and a curse for us. They helped us in our shooting phase. They were not our friend in the enemy shooting phase, that's for damn sure.
Like, I honestly think they only took them out to stop people arguing at tournaments. That was the only reason why they took them out, and that annoys me.
And yeah, and I see yours and Dim's point on that, and a lot of people's, and there is part of me that misses them because they were cool for that reason and stuff. But I also don't miss being concerned about spacing all my squads apart exactly 2 inches apart to get minimal damage from blast markers and things. I don't miss having to fuck about with that. And now I can just bunch a squad up and think, doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about someone putting a pie template over that unit and then being, damn it, why didn't you spread them out, and being all beardy about it and going, yeah, that's 2 inches apart, that's 2 inches. So I do like how it's streamlined the game. I know that's a filthy word to some people, but I do like that. So I think there are pros and cons to it, and I see the argument on both sides, but I don't have a massive issue with it. But in some ways, I do miss them.
Dark a Flack of Flame saying, I thought templates were good for orcs. They were actually. Templates were good for us because of our low ballistic skill.
Yeah.
That's why when they got rid of templates and before we got our codex, shooting armies with the indexes were bleeding terrible. They were absolutely shocking. It's like, what do you mean your Eldar Flyer has -2 to hit? I can't shoot it now.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah, it's like, yep.
Yeah, the Daka rule was sorely needed, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
Like, that we started 8th edition without that.
We needed it so badly, like orc shooting. Think about it. If orc shooting didn't have that, it wouldn't be able to function.
Yeah, certainly orc shooty armies would not be the way to go.
Not at all. And since you're saying like that orc shooty armies are the way to play in the current meta, it'd be like, it's like, well, what are orcs supposed to do?
Shoot. You're a proper orc, yeah. You're supposed to shoot.
Get your deck out.
Baby. We know what being a proper orc is.
Well, you're talking to a blood axe, so I'm all like,
8th edition has finally understood that the best orc clan is Bad Moons, and it always was.
Go way over here. Get of it. Bleeding chancer, I tell you.
There's an argument that's not going to remain civilized.
No, never. Because you're always wrong, so, of course. Templates were great because they made sense. Yeah, I like them because they're immersive. It's why we get leaf blowered so easily. Yeah, Navani's saying, oh, well, I just need the scattered die. I mean, in war, should I always don't go to plan? That's true. I do miss the scattered dice, but then I think they were also taken out because of arguments. Oh, no. You know what I mean? You put the scattered dice down and people are like, no, that's not the line. Do you know what I actually used to do on Apocalypse games, the times we used to play? I used to roll the scattered dice, do you know, on the big dinner-sized templates? I used to roll the scattered dice directly on top of it because it was big enough to do it. You know what I mean? That way there wasn't any arguments. It's like, it's this line, it goes that way. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. There's certain things I do in game to avoid arguments as well. In really close games with me and Joe, generally they're friendly affairs, but we have had some sort of moments in game where it does get a little bit heated when you're disagreeing over something, and it's a vital part of the
We
game.
always have it.
And there's one thing, and I remember it got him really het up, was the charge range. So what I will always do now is I will measure before, and we will agree, okay, we agree now, what do I need for a successful charge? And then you can roll the dice. And then there's not like, because if you're like literally right on the cusp of like 7 inches and you roll, you know you're going to roll a fucking 7. So it's like, right, let's decide now. Do I need an 8 or do I need a 7? Okay, we agreed, yeah? 7. Okay. Now I can roll the dice without any worry, because I know in those situations it's going to roll on that fucking 7. It's not going to roll a 10 or whatever to make it obvious. It's always going to roll. My charges generally always roll just what you fucking need, just to really fucking open it up for debate. And they go, oh, you're not actually quite in there. You failed that charge. So it's always, yeah. So I do try and do things to avoid. And yeah, I agree with you. A lot of these rule changes, I think, are a direct thing from tournaments and stuff and competitive games, which I think a lot of players who are far more into the fluff and, campaign games and fun games, I think that's what a lot of people really despise about 8th, I think, is the sort of change of the whole kind of focus and shift of it into a more competitive game rather than the lore and the fun factor.
Yeah, I think it just depends. But just when you were talking about, measuring beforehand so there's no argument, it's like I do that as well. It's a great way to get away from things. It's like if you hash things out with the person you're playing with, it can make life a lot easier. So even at the start of games, if you sit down and you go, all right, so we look at the table and we go, this is difficult terrain, this is difficult terrain, these are just line of sight blocking ones. Yeah, we both agree. Bam. That gets so many arguments out of the way. Oh, I thought it was this. No, I'll be able to see through there. And you know what I mean? That type of thing. If you sort of nip things in the bud before they become a problem. But I think you sort of get that from playing so many games. And the same with charging. It's like, right, I'm going to charge with them. I'll measure it first. I need to get this. Ah, yeah, that's right. You need a 7. You roll it, you get a 7. Rather than you roll a 7 and then you're putting it down and it's right on the edge, like what you said, and then there's an argument. Oh, I think you need an 8. Because obviously, you're going to want to charge, so you're going to have a personal bias whether you think you do or not. And they're wanting you not to have a charge, so they're going to have a personal bias the other direction.
Exactly.
So if you quash that before it's put into question and you both agree, it's like, well, you agreed beforehand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We both agreed I need 7 and I rolled 7, so they're in. Yeah? Yeah. Grand. Boom.
Do you know what I always hated? What I always hated in deciding arguments and that, and it was even
The
I remember
dice off.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that.
It's a cop
It's
out.
equivalent to me. It's like when I'm going way off on an analogy here, but people get divorced and then they're deciding on who gets custody of the kids or whatever, and it goes through the courts. And as soon as you're at that stage, something's gone very wrong with communications, because it's sad that it's got to that stage. And I know that's going way out there on an analogy. We're talking about the games here, but it's
Steve-O's missus hearing the divorce from the other room going, excuse me?
But it's talking like I used to play against a guy, and we used to have to go. But he always would be his first thing. I'd say, I think it's that. He goes, no, it's that. And I go, well, no, and then he'd go, dice roll. He goes to me, and I go, no, not a fucking dice roll, because we're both grown up fucking people here. Surely we can come to whether one of us is right or wrong. We should just, as two grown up, mature adults, come to the logical conclusion and come to it. And it should just be down to, okay, yeah, you make a good point there, I'll concede. And
grown up, mature adults. I think that's where you went wrong when you're talking about a war game there, mate.
Hey, but we've proven that those people do exist in our community.
They do. I'm only taking the piss. Don't worry.
But yeah, I don't like that. And sometimes a dice roll should be the final. Well, not the final. Probably a fist fight should be the final.
Fight you for it, mate. All right, go on then.
But yeah, I don't like the whole. If you can't agree, roll a dice. No, fuck off, because I'm not going to be happy if you've got your own way because you rolled a dice and the dice said, yeah, he's right. I don't give a fuck what that dice says. I'm still right and you're still wrong.
That sounds like yeah. Yeah, sounds like entertainment to say the least.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a game. Wargaming's it's not a computer game, is it? A computer game has all those rules and restrictions set in. The game decides for you. The rules are set there. So, it's Wargaming. We have to, not only do we have to play the game to our best of our ability and try to win, we also have to interpret the rules and put the rules into effect and things. And we're the referees of our own game in most cases, aren't we? We don't, not like the old days when the Rogue Trader, when it was a 3-person game, you had one ref and 2 people playing.
Well, some people might argue that that's a sign of a bad rule set where it has gaping holes in it.
I know some people that would argue that.
You know what I mean? Where there's gaping holes in it where you have to resolve things on a dice roll, or you know what I mean? There's a counter. It's like I have, there's several instances where one special ability cancels out something, and then there's another special ability that specifically counters it. So it's like, unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. It's like, well, who's, you know what I mean? That can happen a bit as well.
And
Dim Reaper winks bank.
how did he know I was referring to him?
Don't even need to say anything. He's like, he's well trained. Cole was saying, Skarnir, with your weedy little army, will argue the might of the bad moons. It's like, psh, you don't know how many guys I've paid off in your army. You think they're all bad moons.
It sounds a bit alpha.
Dim is saying, do you know what I miss the most? Blowing up my own units. Yeah, that was fun.
There is some things, like I say, blast template stuff. There is some things I do miss from older editions, and I've got very fond memories, in particular of 5th, but 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I've really enjoyed those editions. But I also think there's a lot of rose tinted glasses sometimes with a lot of us, myself included in that. A lot of us look back through rose tinted glasses, and not everything in them older editions was as good.
I know that, like. Don't get me wrong, Games Workshop have never had a perfect rule set.
No, and there never will be. It's impossible.
No, they could make much better rule sets, in my opinion, but like this, because an edition was like, say 5th edition was my favorite. Well, that's the one I played the most, and I can understand why it was my favorite. But I'm not going to say it was the best edition ever made, because I know it had problems. There was rules mechanics that could be abused. You know what I mean? And like the 4th edition Our Codex was my favourite one ever. But I also know there was problems with the 4th edition Codex. You know what I mean? So it's, I can understand where you're coming from. But yeah.
There's things like, yeah, 5th was definitely up there as one of my favourites. It's this will get some people going. For me, it's between 5th and 8th edition as my favourites. It just is. But there was... And I love 5th, but there were some rules in 5th that they brought in that I hated. Like, I couldn't stand the fact that leadership, being fearless, brought some negatives with it. In that, if you would suffer like wounds and stuff and things, and I was like, so it's bad to be fearless? Like, that's shit. And I know some people miss this, but I don't understand why. It probably comes into Dim's thing of Gamecraft, and that I couldn't stand the scatter rules for deep striking. It was the risk and reward was weighted way too heavily with risk. It was far too risky in some games to deep strike, and there was several games where several opponents I played at would never deep strike things because they just said no, because every time I deep strike something, it always dies. It always dies. The scatter dice will aim directly at that impassable terrain, and it will hit the amount in every fucking time, especially on densely packed boards. And when I played my Necrons, I lost my monolith like that far too many times, and there was no fun to be had from that. No fun. And so some people might disagree with me, but I will stand my ground. It's not fun. It's not fun. I didn't like it when it happened to my opponent either. When my opponent was bringing in like a big chunk in terms of points of his army onto the board by deep strike, and they scattered into a piece of terrain and were instantly destroyed. For me, it lessened my victory because I was like, I didn't do anything to earn that. That was just bad luck on his part. And of course, there's luck for all sorts of things, bad dice roll stuff. But that's like a really high price to pay for being unlucky with scatter dice. And you could argue that, well, they shouldn't have played that risk and they should have positioned it better. But I just thought that was terrible. I thought it was the far too higher price to pay for certain units, especially very expensive things like monoliths, which would sometimes be, with a unit of Necrons ready to come out of the portal, would be like half the points of my army in some cases, just gone because of one dice roll. Terrible mechanic.
I agree with you on that one. I think the 8th edition, where you're just placing it down, but you have to be a certain distance away, is pretty good in comparison. And it was pretty harsh on some of the deep strike rules. But then again, you have to. Have you ever heard of the terminology sort of making your own luck? Where it's a case of, we humans, like, how we make memories is we tie them to emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a really bad negative emotion with something, so you remember, like, you specifically remember when your monolith got destroyed, that impression is then imprinted on your old noggin. So then your perception then is
Still bitter.
yeah, he's still bitter to this day. Like he's not bitter at all, lads. He's not bitter at all. But you get what I mean? Like, it's like people who are convinced that they have bad dice rolls because they remember a couple of specific moments when it shafted them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you're like, your dice rolls are average, mate, but you just specifically focus on the negative. And that's, you know what I mean? It's sort of making your own luck. You think you have bad dice rolls. So anytime you do get a bad dice roll, you're like, oh my God. But then when you do get a good dice roll, it's like, oh, I was just lucky then. Most of the time I roll bad. It's sort of...
Luck is a fictional thing, isn't it? Luck doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You're playing the odds. There's as much chance of anyone rolling the dice that it's a 6. With the odds are exactly the same, no matter who's rolling that dice. Now, we all find that hard to believe at times, but yeah, I've had a play with Kev, a guy I used to play against his tower nat, and he was the most pessimistic player ever. Even if he was winning, he was always like, well, that's not good. That's not as good. That should have hit there. And everything. It wouldn't have, he could be absolutely battering you on the table. And you're like literally frantically going, I need to come up with a new plan. I need to turn this round. I'm losing so badly. And then with one of his guns, he'll roll the dice and he'll go, oh, look, it's a 1. It's just typical. And I'm like, mate, you're pissed me off almost. Like, you're battering me. Can you at least give me the decency and respect to be happy about it? Like, because you're actually like, and then Joe, who notoriously, I'm always saying, like, he's just insanely lucky because he rolls huge amounts of 6s and stuff all the time, but he doesn't. He probably does roll as many 6s as me. It's just that he's got a reputation.
The impression of it, yeah, you've got that impression on your brain now. So anytime it does happen, it's like, see, I told you so. You know what I mean? Hey, Van Hammer's here. What's the crack, bud? What were people saying? Damn, the issue with Deep Strike was that the punishment to yourself for mishappening was invariably worse than the punishment to your opponent for success. It's that disproportion that's an issue, I'd argue. Yeah, I'd say I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I don't know, I wouldn't mind them bringing some kind of risk into it and things if you would suffer some damage or something, or I don't know. I wouldn't mind necessarily if they did bring in some kind of thing like that, but it would have to be much less of a risk. Like, I don't know, if you were to scatter into train or whatever, then it would stop you being able to deep strike until the following turn or something. That would still be a pretty painful thing. Or if you suffered some damage or something, like to just lose it completely it was brutal.
Because I had that happen to me in 7th edition. It was a formation, Ghazghkull, and 60 stone boys, deep strike down, and I put it in, like, I specifically picked the most clear place on the table, and I rolled a 6 for the scattered ice and an arrow, and it was literally the closest piece of terrain I picked, and it was literally an inch, and it just barely clipped it, and because one guy clipped it, the whole unit was destroyed.
Yeah.
And it was a case of
2d6, wasn't it?
Something like that. I rolled really badly. It was really unlucky. It was like the 1 in whatever chance. And I would think that formation rolled 1d6 when it scattered. So it was even trying to be... But because it was such a big unit, like a big block. And then the guys I was playing with, we were playing doubles. Me and my mate Craig were playing against 2 Space Marine players. He'd be like, "Oh, as long as you don't roll a 1, you'll be grand. Roll the dice. 1." I was like,
as soon as some fucker says that, you know you're screwed, don't you? I do it to Joel all the time in games. I'm like, I said, you'd be really bad if you rolled snake eyes now, wouldn't it? And literally trying to curse his dice, and the amount of time that shit works, man, you have no idea. It's just brilliant.
And like, it just
put that doubt in his mind, and I feel like, and I know it's all superstition and that, but I know it, for me, it's like, I know as soon as I get a negative thought in his mind, he's more likely to roll a negative result. And that's probably complete bollocks, but sometimes it works.
Playing mind games at that stage.
Totally. What's the other thing I didn't like as well? I didn't like the leadership tests. I much prefer leadership tests as we've got now in 8th. Like I said, back in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I played Necrons mostly, and they were all leadership 10, so as good as you can get without being fearless. And you can bet your ass, if I suffered 25% casualties or whatever, and I had to roll that leadership on their normal leadership, so I can only fail on an 11 or a fucking 12, I would always fail it. I'd fail it, or it felt like I did. Again, it's the emotions coming back, remembering the bad memories, and then a unit just fall back and just keep falling off and fall off the table and stuff. And that always felt harsh to me. And I like now that you just suffer some extra wounds, and it represents a few of the guys running off and scattering or being distracted and killed and stuff. And I do like that. It did represent quite a cool thing. The actual unit itself falling back and running away. I did like that sort of a visual representation of him going, shit, leg it, run away.
Run away. Brave was Sir Robin.
Jesus Christ. Holy Grail reference there for you. But so I do like that now, and I love now that you can just voluntarily fall back. They have some penalties because of it with certain units anyway, unless they can fly and stuff. I love that in 8th. I think 8th's got a lot going for it. But I do see some of the negative criticisms, and I don't think it's a perfect. I do really like it, and it's one of my favourite editions. But I do understand people's issues with it, and I do see the flaws in it, and there's always room for improvement. And I'm sure we'll see it fairly soon, because rumours abound that 9th is on its way. I'm sure they're working on it. I'm sure they start working on next edition once the 1 edition's out the gate.
Do you know what I miss? When you used to get like 5 years out of an edition. You know what I mean? I miss that.
Yeah.
Because I personally, I don't find I get value from money when I'm buying a codex anymore. Or like, I know some people will be like, "Oh, you were bitching and moaning, you just didn't get a codex for years." It's like, yeah, but there's a line. There's being ignored, and then there's like
being a Space Marine.
Yeah, well, there's churning out books just to gouge you for money. You know what I mean? There's a fine line where it's like, at least I feel like I got value for money on me codex.
Yeah, I'm not envious of Space Marine players at all. Lots of people are, because they say, oh, they go overpowered and they get all the stuff and they get all these releases. I'm like, yeah, but there's a price to pay for that.
Well, yeah,
and the price is actual price of money, They have to buy a codex every 6 months. Fucking crazy. I wouldn't want that. Yeah,
how else have Games Workshop profit margins like skyrocketed? It's like they've been milking the Marine players. They're like, what we need, lads? An old quarterly bonus, another Marine codex. Go for it.
I also think as well, sometimes it feels like editions go by quickly. Like as we get older, time moves faster, doesn't it? So I remember like playing 3rd edition for forever.
Well, that's because...
And then, like, 4th edition come out, and it was like, whoa, it's a big event. And I don't feel like 4th edition... I remember playing lots of 3rd, and I remember playing lots of 5th, and I feel like 4th edition was shorter, but I don't know if I just don't have so much memories of it, in between. But I think now as well, even if the editions are to us, it feels quicker because time moves. You just think, geez, has that time passed already? I got an Xbox One on launch day, and now it's soon to become the old gen, and a new one's on the way, and a new PlayStation's on the way, and I feel like, fuck, was that long ago already? It still feels new to me.
That's life, though. You know what I mean? It's a phenomenon that's got something to do with as you get older, every day is less of a percentage of your life.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why, like,
totally.
if you remember when you were younger, like, if you think about it mathematically, like, a day in your life when you're 4 is a much larger percentage of your life than a day in your life when you're in your 30s. Like, you know what I
How
mean?
far away did Christmas always feel?
Oh, yeah.
Now it,
Yeah,
now it feels like it's Christmas, a little
it's,
break, and then it's Christmas again. Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's probably more because there's a cost that comes with it now, and less excitement. More like shit, I can't afford another Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
Much
Back
like
of
I can't
flame.
afford another codex or
Back.
another edition.
Well, it depends how much. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, some of the guys in the comment section, it's percentage of age. Yeah, pretty much what I was saying. Back of Flack of Flame was saying wasn't 3/3.5 like 7 years long. Yeah, it was a pretty solid edition. Like, it
Yeah,
was a long
third
one,
did last a long time,
long
didn't it?
time. Probably the longest out of all of them.
I think second as well went for a long time, didn't it? I think that was
Not as
a
long as that.
pretty
I think third
lengthy
edition's the
edition.
longest one. But there was like a reboot midway through it, like
I think
3.5.
sixth was the shortest one, wasn't it? Sixth
It's
was
2 years. I think seventh was about 2 years as well. Sixth was a bleeding travesty, man.
the seventh was an attempt to sort of fix sixth, wasn't it? And it just
I
kind of
don't.
made it worse. It's again, but
Shocking.
there's some people that love that edition and still vigorously fight its corner. Oh,
Different strokes for different folks. That much is true.
formations, never, never, ever,
Ah,
ever. Please bring formations back, ever. GW, just never, please. I beg you.
Kyle is asking, my question is, what edition had the most releases model-wise, not book-wise? Are you talking about orcs, or are you talking about, like, other factions?
If it's all factions,
It's this edition, because,
it is
boy,
this edition.
Jesus Christ, like, the
Yeah.
amount of shite they're throwing out now.
I think what I remember when I used to get all my news and stuff from White Dwarf and sit there and excitedly read the cover, White Dwarf cover to cover and stuff. And I remember that generally their release schedule was 1 month would be they'd release something for 40k, and the next month they'd release something for fantasy. And
And
that's
then there'd
kind of
be
the thing they would do.
alternating
So
summers as
it
well.
was like every 2 months you would get something for 40k, and then something the next month would be more focused on fantasy. And but yeah, now it's constant, isn't it? It's just constant,
Yeah, they're just outputting stuff like mad.
and none of us are ever happy.
Yeah,
We're either,
it's like
you
you
haven't
get.
given us nothing. Space Marines are getting everything. We get nothing, and then we get giving us. We can't afford you. We don't. We got a new book already. Like we're just never happy. Whenever
Well,
we
this is
always
it.
have
They'll be
something to
like
moan
these
about.
bleeding fans. They're never happy. It's either they never get enough, or we give them too much. It's like, yeah, but just never give us exactly what we want. You get.
No, until now. Until now.
Van is saying, try pushing 60, you young git. It's like, wow, Van, you must like
Hey,
close your eyes
I'm
and
hitting
then
the big
a
4-0
week's
this
gone.
year. I'm hitting the big 4-0 this year.
Yeah, Jesus, fair play. I'd be lucky if I hit 60, to be honest with you.
Yeah, same. The way
Orc stuff is like, I remember 60. Good times, good times.
That was what I was going to say. That's what I was going to ask the question to everyone in here. With this upcoming release of Ghazghkull and that, do we think, and I know there's going to be some opinions on this, is this is this GW listening to what the community wanted, or is it just coincidence that they're doing it and this has been in? I imagine the production time to get a miniature from concept to actual release is a long time, isn't it? I think these miniatures are in the secret vaults for a long time before they're
It's
actually.
about 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah, so I don't know. Is this a response? Because I know that the Warhammer community team and all their feedback and stuff, and we know that they look at forums and they see the videos and stuff. And is this a response to the Orc community going, where the fuck is Ghazghkull? Like, give us this.
I reckon. It depends when his sprue is made. Like, what was it, a year ago? A year or two. Like, how long has it taken them to do the Sisters of Battle? And how long they've been harking on about that for about 2 years now, haven't they?
Yeah,
Finally seeing Sisters of Battle, but it's not. Like, it depends. If it's just Ghazghkull, it might be a case of it's, oh, this is what they want. It might be. But it's you don't know. You
Well,
don't.
is it? Also, I think sometimes that they can be clever in that they can use their own previous fuck ups as a hype machine. That when they can almost like they can be like, yeah, you've been asking us, yeah, we've been listening, we give it to you now, and it's almost like they've done that deliberately as like a marketing ploy. Like what we'll do is we'll starve them for ages. We'll give them fuck all, or we'll give them some shit they don't want. By the time we give them what they want, they'll be throwing money at us. They'll be like, they'll really appreciate this, Gazzy. If you get a, and that is, this is, I need some tinfoil.
You need a tinfoil. You need a tinfoil dim special. You've been listening to him too much.
Yeah, I know. You know. But yeah, I don't know. Because we know like companies, like especially massive companies, they've got like really like brands like Coca-Cola and stuff and things like. We know that they use some really crafty
Marketing, yeah.
like advertising and marketing and selling and stuff. They use like
Trick in the book.
like they really do. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like would Sisters of Battle sold so well if they had been released just a few years like in sort of normal time that most Dark factions get an update. If they'd released like that, there wouldn't have been the same level of fanfare for them, would they? Like the reason they're so talked about in that because Sisters of Battle weren't ever a really massively popular army. They were popular, but they weren't, up there with like, the top tier of like high selling.
I never remember. Now this could be just in my area, but I never remember going into a Games Workshop and everyone and their cousin had a Sisters of Battle army.
No, but because they were starved of them for so long, where's our sisters? Where's the sisters? I mean, you get it now. Where's our squats? The reason they weren't there anymore because no one fucking bought them at the time. No one had a squat army.
They didn't know what to do with them.
So I think sometimes you starve the community of what they want for long enough. By the time you bring it out, you license to print money.
Can be.
Tinfoil hat moment there for you. There you go.
Also known as corporate marketing 101.
Cynical too. What's the community? What's the comment section saying on this?
What are we hearing? Man, not as much listening, more like a politician's way to fish for votes. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Garrick Field saying, I hope it's a response, but it must take time to develop. Maybe they progressed it quicker than initially intended, so they might have sped it up, he's saying. Oxford is saying, maybe they just took what they were making ourselves. That's also happened before. Kyle is saying, I hope they're nicking something from my book and producing figures faster. Does not take 2 years to design one figure. Post design, sure, but hell, I'm out designing their orc team. That is true. Kyle is absolutely smashing 3D designs out.
Kyle's out designing any other human on the planet.
It's almost like, Games Workshop just give him a job. It's like, here, just take care of orcs for us, will you?
He's with this 3D printer of his. He is literally part of the machine. He's like surgically implanted part of that engine himself. There's some bionics going on in there. It's wired straight into his brain, I think.
It's like, let's design orcs. It's like fair play, boy.
I swear, if you uncover his hair, he's got like a USB socket there. He literally just plugs the 3D printer in. Goes, just imagine something. Boom, there you go. Next creation.
Van is saying it's for the coin. He will be $100. Van thinks he's going to be 100. I'm like, yeah, well, $100. Yeah, probably 80-ish, the type of. Garrick is saying, Kyle, go work for them, please. Dread was saying, token glance in our direction to see what we want as well. Understood as it was with the buggies, I bet. Yeah, the buggies were a bit of let's just throw buggies at them sort of type of thing. Dim, because no mini support, expensive metal, not as if they did anything to make them attractive. That's true. Dread is saying, I didn't see Sisters as popular, just a bunch of PC warriors wanting representation. Oh, Jesus.
Hey, who said that?
Dread. Of course Dread said that.
Oh mate. Dread, at some point in the future, I want to get a video going on some representation. That's a topic for another time, maybe. But yeah, I've got some things to say.
We'll save that for another one. Not tonight, because boy, Jesus.
I've got some shit to say on that one.
It's like we're 2.5 hours in, and that'd be another bleeding hour and a half just by
Oh,
itself.
big time, big time, big time. That's definitely that's a whole video in itself. That is.
Dread is saying they just want to make the noise for virtue. Oh, here we go. Going down that rabbit hole. It's like Dame is like
What's he saying?
DW potholes and fucking Dread's like, oh Jesus, here we go. When the internet is sorted, DWG will be smashing back on the scene with a bumper special on Gear Guts Madness. DWG. I'll have to. Oh, I can't remember now. Dame's being sarcastic, saying, "God, you guys are sexist." Of course, we're sexist. You know, we collect an army that has boys as their core unit. We must be sexist.
We can't be sexist though.
Sarcasm. We're being sarcastic, just in case you didn't get it.
They don't have genitals.
That's it. They're asexual. I think people forget that.
Yeah.
Realm Weaver Gaming 8 had so many changes that the core rulebook and codex have been FAQ'd and changed a lot. GW should just release an edition and make small balance tweaks. You know, I'd get that, because there's nothing worse than trying to play the game and you want to be able to get used to edition. You know what I mean? I think that's another problem I have with the rules changing every 2 years. It's not enough time to get comfortable with it. You know what I mean? Not everyone gets to play every week.
No, it still feels new to me. It still feels new to me.
Yeah, so
it really
with
does.
the changes constantly with the FAQs and erratas, it's like, oh, you know, and some of them have been like massive changes to the game. Oh, your flyers can't charge over units. Oh, we changed it back. You know what I mean? Because they're trying to balance things around a bit. It's like, it's changing so much. It's hard to get used to playing it if you're not playing in it constantly. You know what I mean?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah, definitely.
It's like the problem you have when you're gaming long enough and
That's
you're
an
like,
issue I do have with Eighth is the constant
changes
and updates and things to it, and a lot of these changes and updates are positive, and they do generally go in the right direction. I think for the most part they fix things and balance things, and you know, but it's really hard to keep up with. It really is, and certainly to a casual player, I think it's a nightmare. And to think that the rule book itself is almost to the point where it's useless now, because I always said, we talked about this before, like trying to get they've tried to make the game more accessible to new players, and they've definitely succeeded in a lot of ways. But now if I've got a new person that's just getting into the hobby and I'm teaching them how to play, and they go out, they go, I've got the rule book and I've got this, and I'm like, one of the first things I sort of say to them in the game is like, yeah, but that rule's not actually what it says in the rule book, isn't actually right now. It's
isn't right anymore. Yeah, it's almost like it's been changed so much they need to bring out like 8th edition 2.0 or whatever.
That rule book there isn't really 8th edition anymore. That's like an older edition now. It's that outdated that there's whole core mechanics and stuff in there that are just completely wrong now, with chapter approved and FAQs and erratas and everything. It's really like massively out of date, and that's never happened on this scale before with any other edition. So yeah, I feel like it's too much too fast sometimes. Definitely too many books, too many changes.
You orc players never happy, complain there's not enough rules changes. Now there's all the rules changes, it's too much, you know. No, but I get you. There has to be like a fine balance, and
it will happen again. What will happen is we will get 9th, which will tidy up a lot of stuff. I think 9th it won't be a drastic change. It will be a refinement and add some bits and tidy it up, but it won't. And then it'll be nice again for a little while. It'll be like, oh, this is nice. We've just got the one rule book and everything. And it'll be nice for a little while. And then they'll start adding to it again, and it'll start to bloat again.
Yeah, the rules bloat. It's the same with every edition. Near the end of the editions, they're bleeding terrible. Like near the end of 7th edition, some of the formations were absolutely horrendous.
Oh.
What was there? There was like a box set one where the Space Marines could deep strike and attack you. You know what I mean? And then, you know what I mean? There was all this mad shenanigans.
Yeah. I think that was probably the edition that had the biggest codex creep. Jeez.
What else are they saying in the comment section here? Dim is saying he's glad Sister's got plastics. Orc stuff is saying, look at his name scar. It's like, I've twigged on now. I'm a bit slow on the take today, but I got there in the end. They're an amazing climax to the second edition. The Sisters, was it? Realm Weaver is saying power disparity between the highest and the lowest tier armies is huge. It would be nice to bring what you love and still be good against an army just with different flavor rules. Yeah, I get that. I don't think there should be like, it shouldn't be a case where you turn up, put your army on the table, and your opponent turns up and puts their army on the table, and you know you've lost. Like, you know what I mean? That can happen a lot more. I think that harks back to what I was saying, where we see people getting tabled a lot more now. You see people getting tabled a lot more now and a lot quicker. Because the potential for it's just there, the amount of firepower, the amount of damage being output, it's just like it's
A
like
lot
the
of the
game's on steroids.
responsibility of that, though, I think it's the game's not really going to change from that front. Where that's going to be devastating to a lot of people to hear, but it's not going to go back to that way. So I think a lot of the responsibility of that does have to be on you and your gaming group, and I think you've got to find a player of a similar mindset and say, listen, let's agree. Let's just make a good fluffy. Let's have some fun. You can have a little bit of competitiveness and that, but let's not go crazy. Let's pick some of the weaker units, pick some fun units, throw that in because it's just fun to
have
do.
a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah. And some people will do that, and then they'll still come on and just fucking use it as an excuse to batter you and lure you in to make a shit list so that they can batter you. And there are arseholes like that. And you've got to pick your opponents well, I guess, and kind of in your gaming group. Where you're going to play? Are you going to play more for fun? Set out the boundaries first. Are we going to just go at it full pelt and really try and tweak our lists and batter each other, or are we going to just have a fun, fluffy game?
I mean, I suppose it just sort of depends, really. But I think like 40k at the moment is pretty open to that abuse, especially with people who don't have a choice. It's like their local gaming store when they want to game. That's the only thing there is that mentality and that competitive scene. So I could see how that kills it for some people. You know what I mean? I could indeed.
This has been a long episode, man.
This has been a long episode. It's probably about time we wrapped it up here, folks, because I am bleeding starving. I'd ate your arm, I would. And I ran out of tea a long time ago. Boy, Jesus. It's been a fun one, though. It's our first live one.
It's been really fun. And if I'm honest, I could talk for another couple of hours.
Oh, I know. I know what you're like. Talk the legs off a bleeding chair, you would, I'm telling you. Right, folks, I think we're going to wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed our live Two Bald Knobs hangout. I think it worked out pretty well, thankfully. I think more people are realising the time as well. It's pretty late. It's 11:30 over here, so it's late enough on a work night, on a school night. So yeah, we'll wrap this one up. It's been great crack. I want to say thanks to everyone for dropping in and watching, and hopefully we'll get a Two Bald Knobs episode out again soon enough. It'll be on Stevo's channel, so if you're not subscribed to Stevo and you're a subscriber of mine, go subscribe to his channel. We'll get him to throw links into the description. We'll sort it out. You'll find it. You know what I mean? I'll put it in the if you're watching after the fact, I'll put it in the end credits. It's the doobly-doo, the description and all. That stuff.
Hit the like, hit the bell, subscribe, all that stuff. Look, check the links below.
All the good stuff. Anything you want to add in, Steve-O, before we wrap this one up?
No, just save your teeth up, guys. Get ready for Gazzy. Good times are coming. That's it. And thanks for joining. It's been a really fun show. At least I've had fun anyway. It's been good. We've got the best community going. We play the best faction going. And yeah, good stuff. 6+ Stevo, signing out.
Says. End stream. Would you like to end stream?